Welcome to Manhwa Recaps, spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. Huge shout out and special thanks to the channel members. The manhwa starts with a moonlit sky, as a man is saying that it is time. He explains that even after his clan was destroyed by the demonic sect, the reason they struggled to survive was solely for the purpose of revenge. As we see him standing at the top of a tree branch, he hops over a wall, and we see a fire underneath it. There is a guard standing watch. Hands start to come out from the shadows, making the guy rubberneck like when I pass your mother on the street. He says it won't take long before they notice the sentry's disappearance, and that he'll finish this all before that happens. The bloodshed continues, and we hear an old man saying that it's very noisy outside. He looks up, and we see his eyes are a deep dark red. The man from outside says that to think that he's peacefully meditating while his subordinates are being slaughtered, and he's as heartless as usual. The old man says that he could say the same thing about him, running amok without knowing anything, saying he is the heartless one, asking if he thinks a man would care about the insects beneath his feet as he climbs a mountain. As of course he wouldn't, because he'd be staring at the peak, and that is how one reaches the pinnacle of martial arts. The man says that's nonsense, and we finally learn that his name is Kang Wunchin. Wunchin says that he will kill him with his hands today, and we learn that the old man is the heavenly demon. Wunchin dashes forward. As a blue aura starts to glow from his hand, he begins charging up lightning with it, and it's called the Heavenly Lightning Fist. He goes in with his attack directly to the heavenly demon's face, and he laughs, asking if that's all he's got, as he starts to stretch out his hand using his own martial art called the Heavenly Blood-Tide Art, and he tells Wunchin to watch and learn. As he begins to shoot out an actual energy beam that meets Wunchin's fist, creating some Dragon Ball Z-type energy battle. Obviously, the heavenly demon wins, because it shoots straight past Wunchin's hand, injuring his face, and he recognizes the energy beam as a sword key. The heavenly demon says that he will send him over to his father today, and that he's finished. But Wunchin has other thoughts as he begins to use another technique. The heavenly demon looks surprised. As Wunchin starts to come in with a palm attack called the Heavenly Divine Palm, we see him break the energy beam, and the heavenly demon is surprised, saying that he can't believe his steel tempering, which makes his fist harder than steel, lost to his bare hands. Wunchin then continues hitting him straight in the chest with his punch, sending lightning all throughout his body, causing him to fly into the wall behind him. Wunchin starts panting, saying that he should stop talking about his father with that dirty mouth of his. And surely, he has not forgotten all the evil deeds he's committed in his time of being alive, and that this is the rage of all those people. The heavenly demon says that he should have wiped out the roots of the Cloud Dragon sect back then. He doesn't know what kind of enlightenment he received, but he's honestly surprised. He can't believe he broke through his heavenly demon blood surge art, and that he's left him with no other choice as he pulls out some kind of gourd. Wunchin asks if that is an elixir, as the old man begins chug-jugging that shit. Wunchin says that if he drinks an elixir of that amount at once, he'll undergo demonic ki deviation. A purple energy shatters the gourd as the heavenly demon starts powering up, because his ki is overflowing. But it's so much so that his face begins to look strained. As his eyes bulge out, he lets out a very powerful roar, sending out a shockwave around, making Wunchin put up his hands to block the wind as it flies past him. Wunchin can't believe what he's witnessing, and then hears the heavenly demon call out to him, but from behind, and when he turns, the attack is already coming in, with the heavenly demon saying that it's time for him to disappear. Wunchin looks at it, realizing he's too late, and we hear somebody else cast a barrier. It then puts up a protective shield around Wunchin, and Wunchin recognizes what it is, but is just surprised. The man then enters, saying that he's sorry for being late, and he got caught lazing around. Wunchin calls him the Great Mage, and the dude says that he told him not to call him some lame-ass nickname like that, and then asks if this is the nemesis he was talking about. Wunchin says that this is the guy who claims to have come from another world, and if it weren't for him, he would have died helplessly. It then jumps to reality as a man is screaming wait, and he says that he thought this was a regular Muram story. Wondering why the hell a random high-level mage from a different world appeared out of nowhere, and he sighs, saying that he was having fun reading it too, and that this is a straight mood killer. He says the author must be on some fentanyl, because how does it make sense that there's another world out of nowhere, and we are introduced to him, and his name is Jin Seowon, and that he is 23 years old. His phone begins buzzing, and we learn that he was discharged 6 months ago, and he is preparing to go back to college. His boy hits him up, asking if he's trying to grind some ranked, and Se-woon just wonders if his friend has no one else to play with. He says like many people who have completed their service, before being discharged, he had a good life plan. He wanted to earn certifications while preparing to return to college and study all the things he couldn't study while he was in the military, but he missed too many fun things in society. He heads out to town, saying that he still has some money left, but debates finding a part-time job. He says that since he is a Muram novel fanatic, he spent a lot of time lost in fantasies of being the protagonist of a Muram world. He heads into a PC cafe, and the cashier knows him by name, asking if he's going to Loyal Ground again today. Se-woon says yes, and that he wants 10 hours. He says that he's also sunk hours into Loyal Ground, and even though it's the only game he played during his leaves, after being discharged he started seriously grinding and became a top 10 ranker in 3 months. He hops in Discord and tells his boy that he's logging in, so to wait in the lobby. He's also made some spare change from the tournaments they occasionally hold in internet cafes too. The game is pretty simple. 100 players drop from the plane, and they collect the weapons scattered around the map and kill each other until one person is left. He's talking about PUBG. He then calls out the coordinates, telling his boy that there's 2 people. He tells his boy to look 120 since the game has a compass at the top. He starts firing, and kills both of them instantly with a double headshot. His boy yells, saying that there are only 2 people left now. Se-woon says that he's so loud and that he already died once, wondering why he's still yapping so much, and that they should just farm for now and stay alive, as they need to find the safe zone before they leave. And his boy says that he'll only believe in him. With the circle closing, we see some other players running towards the building as they slowly enter the door. They see some loot on the ground, such as a first aid kit, and they say that seeing how the loot's still here, doesn't look like he's entered. Of course it's a bait, and anybody who's played PUBG would know as such, because when he enters, going to get the free loot, we see Se-woon's character sitting in the corner, straight up camping the shit. The guy outside hears gunshots and sees that his teammate's dead, and he says that he can't believe he was hiding inside, so he needs to get out of here. He begins running away instead of trading out his teammate and gets shot in the back of the head. He is now the last person remaining, so he has won the chicken dinner. Se-woon sighs as his friend thanks him for carrying him, and he just tells him to queue it up already, and that he should lock in and start studying tomorrow. Words we've all said, but still we hear procrastinating. He then gets a notification on his phone and looks down at it, and they ask if he's studying well. They say that they sent his academy fees and some extra money, so he should eat well, and that they're sorry they can't send more. He thanks her, as we learn it's his mother, and he says he's going to bed soon. He then tells his friend that he's not going to play anymore starting tomorrow, and his boy says that he told him they would go to a clan war together. Se-woon says that he can't, as he needs to start going to an English academy, and he feels guilty every time he sees his mother's texts, and he's been living like this for months now. As he heads back into his apartment, he starts doom scrolling that night. Some of the shorts are people talking about people with mysterious powers being spotted abroad, and that they are calling themselves players. Se-woon says that when he tries clicking to figure out more, the video got deleted suddenly, which is weird, but he decides to sleep it off. The next morning, he's heading out to the academy, as his boy says that they should prepare for the clan war, and Se-woon says that he wants to help him in one last game. But a purple light begins emanating behind him, and when he turns, he's completely taken aback, wondering what's going on. As the light begins to go completely towards him, engulfing him, dropping his backpack to the floor, leaving not a single other trace of him behind. Se-woon starts wondering what that light was. He says that he just resolved himself to study, and he wonders if it was punishment for deciding too late. As he slowly opens his eyes, he hears people speaking Russian, and he wonders why it's so loud. He then looks ahead of him, seeing people fighting with swords and magic. He wonders what the hell he's looking at and why there are so many cosplayers. As he sees them casting spells, he wonders if maybe this is a dream. He looks around more, spotting a statue, still just completely confused. The statue says that 100 players have been detected. Se-woon wonders why he's hearing a voice in his head and is low-key a bit loud. The statue's eyes begin to glow, saying that it's initializing the system. As we see the same blue glow in Se-woon's eyes, still confused by the situation, then it mentions synchronizing the language. The previous Russian that he was hearing earlier is now being translated directly into Korean. Some fat ass in front of him says that everybody's speaking his language now. We see some people from a Murim setting talking about sex, and even mages discussing as well, with a mage asking the other one named Chiron what he did to get them in the situation. Chiron says this is actually what he wanted to ask him, asking Escrow why he brought him here. Escrow says that he sure is shameless and he won't be fooled by his words anymore. Chiron says that it's not important whether he believes him or not, since everyone is fated to kneel in front of the Demon King's power. Escrow says that he'll promise him this as an archmage, as he starts to summon lightning in his hand. He says that he'll kill him here and end the Demon King soon after. He uses an ability named the Escrow-style lightning, zapping Chiron where he is. Escrow is then both surprised and confused, as Chiron is completely unscathed. Escrow then says that he definitely was the one who dragged him here, and Seowun watches all of this, realizing that this is too realistic to be a dream. The statue then says that it's going to be beginning the game. The difficulty is set to easy, they only need to get to the top 90. The decided map is the King Kingdom's capital, and the rewards will be awarded to the top 10 and higher. It then says it's going to skip the tutorial, and that you can't attack players in the waiting room, as everything is neutralized. The map appears in front of Seowun. The statue then says for those accessing the Cloyd survival for the first time, that it wants to give them a brief explanation. The game will progress for 100 years, and each day, the map they play will get slightly more limited. If they exit the limited map, they may be subjected to great harm, so be careful. The game will continue until there is only one survivor left. If the game finishes, or you are eliminated, you will return to your original world. Players who do not make it into the top 90 will not be able to partake in Cloyd survival again. Soon they will descend to the location they desire with the help of Argus's gaze, and they can obtain items at that place and use them to enter the top 90, and it wishes them luck. Seowun wonders if he's dreaming about loyal ground right now. The status window says that the rewards will be awarded to the top 10 and higher. Seowun sweats anxiously, saying that even if this were a dream, for him to be in the middle of all these crazy-ass humans. We see a dude licking his knife. What a freak. Seowun understands that he will definitely die. He says that even if this is a dream, he doesn't want to. And if this really is like the game. But before he can finish his thought, someone calls out to him, calling him messy hair. The guy asks why he keeps looking around, asking where he's from. Seowun doesn't answer, and the dude swings his blade towards him, asking if he's ignoring him. The game then starts to count down, as he smiles. The dude asks why he's smiling in a situation like this, calling him crazy. As the countdown hits 1, Seowun says that it's a very simple reason why he's smiling. He's dreaming such a fun dream, so why wouldn't he enjoy it? And with his knowledge of the game, which he has abbreviated to log, he can easily defeat bastards like him and survive. It is now day 1 of Cloyd survival, and they all start dropping in from the airship, which doesn't actually exist, and they're just flying down, covered in aura. I see where this dwarf is looking. Seowun says they're descending in crowded areas where there are many items. As per the game, those crowded areas really do have more, but he thinks it'll be better to start on the outskirts and be safe. He spots a house, saying that that should be good, and he yells descend. As he shoots straight down into the ground, he screams out of panic, and even does a superhero pose, but of course, he's unharmed. He doesn't move instantly after landing, and instead he has to hold back his vomit, because he has severe motion sickness. He says for now, he just needs to enter the house, and he hears rustling in the bushes, which surprises him. He begins running, saying that because of the motion sickness, he couldn't see who landed with him. He continues sprinting forward, going straight through the door, getting into the house. He says that if he comes across an enemy without having a weapon on him, he's done for. He closes the door behind him, then he starts panting while grabbing onto his chest, and he says that he wonders if it's the sword-wielding bastard from earlier, and that he shouldn't have provoked him. He glances out the window, seeing nobody, and says that it must have just been the wind, and luckily, he doesn't hear anything else, so he's able to move on. So he wants to start looking through the house. They mention that you get items from where you land, and that he needs to look for them in here. As he walks forward, he notices something below him, and looks down at it, and it tells him he has obtained a heavy crossbow. He says this is way too heavy, but it's still better than nothing. As he reaches for the quiver, grabbing out an arrow, he says as he equipped it, The way to use it naturally floated to his head, as he begins reloading it. For a South Korean army sergeant, this is nothing, and if he just squeezes the trigger, it'll shoot, and he does exactly that, and it's hella powerful, as it pierces through half of the wall, sending him flying backwards. He's surprised at how effective it is, as it actually penetrated deeply into the wood. He says that it'll be pretty useful if he learns to use it properly. He looked around more, but couldn't find anything, and since the map is so big, he starts running to some more buildings. He says that if he doesn't run into an enemy at the start, he can safely farm the area. He raises his crossbow, slowly clearing the house in front of him. There's a scroll on the table, and he walks over wondering what it is, and it says that he has obtained a healing scroll, which is small, and if he rips it, his injuries will be healed. He can't believe that such an item actually exists, saying that he should find more recovery items, and he wishes he had an item bag. He then sees a glowing purple book on the shelf nearby, and he picks it up, and it says that he has obtained the Black Star Leader's martial arts book. It's a martial art that lets him project dark energy through his fingers, asking if he would like to learn it. He wonders if it'll start a tutorial or something, and as soon as he presses accept, it starts to glow very vibrantly, and the pages begin turning directly in front of his face. The book then slowly starts to disintegrate, and he's confused as he looks down at his hands, wondering if that was it. As he's staring at his palm, he can slowly start to feel the energy swelling up more and more with every passing second. To test it, he grabs a fork off the table and imbues it with energy before yeeting the absolute piss out of it into a nearby wall, and we see that it actually stabbed all the way into it. He smiles, saying that he actually learned a martial art just from a book. He walks over, grabbing the fork out of the wall, and says that this is going to be really good. The fact that there are martial arts books must mean that there are magic books too. Regardless, he's sure that Cloyd's Survival and Loyal Ground are the same game. He's looked all over this place, so he's going to move elsewhere now. As he heads out, it jumps to a bit later. He says that the sun had already dawned while he was farming, and he needs to quickly find a place to hide. He then looks up in front of him, saying that this is the only house that has its lights on. The fact that the light is on means one of two things. Either there is a rare item hidden inside, or maybe that somebody is inside. He slowly enters, trying not to make sound. He says that he doesn't know how many people landed near him, but in the case that there is someone here, they could either be a complete pro or a complete noob. He doesn't hear anything on the first floor. He wonders if they're hiding on the second one and looks anxious. He says that he has a weapon, and if he ambushes them with the Black Star technique, even if they're a pro, he might stand a chance. As he slowly walks up the steps, he does his best to not make a sound. He's wielding his crossbow as he's walking up the stairs and spots something in front of him, which is none other than a lantern. He wonders if maybe it's a trap, as there's a room right beside it. He then decides to just go for it and kicks the door wide open, revealing the bedroom. He looks around. He says that he put on a show by himself, and it's a relief that no one is here. He spots a ring on the bedside and picks it up, wondering if it's an item too. It's called the Ring of Strength, which increases the user's strength by 20 when equipped. He wonders if it'll actually make him stronger just by wearing it and puts it on his index finger. He immediately starts to feel a weird sensation and says that his entire body feels lighter, as he can barely feel the weight of the crossbow now, even though it was so heavy before. If it increased his strength by 20, maybe he can check what it is. He looks for his stats, but he starts trying to cycle through words to get the character info. He gets it to pop up, showing that he's pretty pathetic, and he wonders if he's only classified as a martial artist because he learned a martial art. He says that this is pretty cool, and he means compared to when he started with nothing, this is pretty gas, and he wants to continue looking through the first floor properly. He finds a subspace ring, which conveniently is exactly what he wanted earlier, and he says that he keeps on getting rings, which is convenient. The status window says that to store an item, he needs to grab it and say or think of the word subspace. If he takes his other hand and touches the ring while thinking of the item he wants. Also, he can take the item from the subspace, and if the subspace is full, he cannot store anything in it. He says that it's pretty much just an inventory from a game, and they must use this stuff instead of a bag. He then opens the subspace, as we see it in front of him. He says it feels strange as he starts to put in the healing scroll. He says it's convenient, and he doesn't have to carry it around like a bag, and that it would be much more convenient to have this in real life. the items and the martial arts would be so useful if he could actually take them back to reality. He wonders if people have been eliminated yet, and he says that looking at the interface, he's sure there will be a kill log. He then finds it, saying that only one person has been eliminated, and he wanted to farm until there were only 90 people left, but he was able to search houses and obtain a lot of consumable items. He was lucky enough to find many hidden weapons to use alongside his Black Star martial arts. He says that he thinks he's gone through all of them, and that he should maybe get a move on. It would be better to stay here until it gets bright out. The strong people he saw in the waiting room are striding around the darkness, and with his level, he definitely cannot beat them, but if he hides and gets into the top 10, he'll be able to put points into good places like today. He says that there will definitely be less people at night, so he should probably go check another place before the sun comes up, as it's worth the risk if he can find somewhere good. As he heads out, he says that even though he's been consistently moving, he's not tired at all, and that the ring of strength is awesome. But even though his strength has increased, he could still feel hunger and thirst, and perhaps Cloyd's survival is similar to reality. He says that he needs to find something to eat, so surely there will be some in the city, and according to the map, it should be somewhere around here, but he wonders where the houses are. We begin to hear a wolf snarling, and he also hears it too, directly behind him. He instantly darts into some bushes and says that he didn't hear anything until it was already on him. He peeks over, seeing it in the distance, and starts to sweat hella nervously, saying that it's actually a werewolf, as there's another one beside him. As he's looking up at it, it comes in for an attack that he dodges out of the way of. It instantly shattered the tree, and we see that there are two of them now staring at him. Me and bro after the 48-hour goon sesh. He says that he thought this was a PvP game, and he didn't think there would be monsters here. If he knew something like this was going around, he would have just stayed put, and that he was still a ranker in name, so it would be embarrassing if he died to a mob. He spots a house off in the distance and eventually makes it inside and closes the door while panting. He hears the werewolves outside, wondering if it's really going to enter. As it gets closer, he starts to think about what to do in this situation. He cracks the door open, seeing them directly outside. He says that judging by how it keeps sniffing around, it must be searching for his scent. If that's the case, he'll attack it first, as he readies the crossbow and aims down the sights, and as soon as it's lined up, he fires the shot up through the crack of the doorway into the woods, piercing it in the side of the skull. As it falls to the ground, it begins to disappear in the air. He says that this is good, and thanks to the ring of strength, he can fire with just one hand. Now he just needs to deal with the last one. Now that he's reloaded, he turns back to see where it is, only to be surprised that it's now directly in front of the doorway. It smashes through it, cutting his cheek, and he turns in horror as it bursts straight through the door like the Kool-Aid Man. He realizes this is bad, as it's coming in for a follow-up, and he raises the crossbow, shooting at it, but the werewolf raises its arm, blocking it. Seo-woon drops the crossbow as the wolf comes in ready to finish the job, and he wonders if this is how he gets eliminated. He says not yet, as he pulls out the subspace, pulling out a weapon, which might even just be a spoon, but he imbues it with the Black Star of martial arts, putting an actual hole straight through the werewolf with ease. As it pierces into the wall as well, Seo-woon says that there's no way he would lose to a mere mob. As it also starts to disappear in front of his eyes, he sighs out of relief, saying that he thought he was a goner. He then falls to his knees, saying thank God he had stashed the throwing dagger from before, and he thought he'd lose to the mobs and fail, and that would have been really embarrassing. There's a little baggie on the floor in front of him too. He notices it, saying it must be a mob drop. But when he opens it, there's only water and jerky, and he says he can just hunt for food, and he really wished it was something else. As he starts munching, he debates checking the surroundings out. In the building, he finds a piece of armor, saying that it might be the same as a bulletproof from Log. He puts it on, saying that it's kind of big for him, but it instantly adjusts to his size. The status window lets us know that it is called an advanced orichalcum breastplate, and that his resistance against fire and wind magic has increased greatly. He says this is awesome, and it raised more than just 1 or 2 stats. He bets there's even more around. As he starts looking around for stuff, he bumps his knee into something, but when he looks down, he doesn't see what he hit. So he kicks in front of him, saying that it might be a hidden item, then he picks it up, saying that it feels like cloth. He then puts it on, and it's called the night cloak. Once equipped, if he stays still in the darkness, he will blend in with it. While hidden, he will not be detected by magic, and the sounds he makes will be completely suppressed. He says it's like that thing from Harry Potter. This means he can avoid anybody he comes across at night, and this is the best item for staying alive. With this, he can stay alive as long as he needs to. He was confused about how there was a house in the middle of nowhere, but it was a farming spot, and that it looks like his luck is going to be pretty good today. Still at night, he's walking through the woods, saying that he hasn't seen anyone at all, and maybe it could be because he dropped in a random location. He hears someone on cue behind him, and we see a man running through the forest all tattered up, screaming if only he had the time to use this. Se-woon puts on the night cloak and stays hidden in some bushes. The guy says that he can't believe he'd meet a mage here. Se-woon says that he doesn't look strong, and if he's not wrong, he can take care of him. As the guy starts to walk away, Se-woon tells himself to calm down, as this is not a person, and it's just a game. Wondering why he's hesitating to shoot him. A man then casts a spell called Escrow's Flame, shooting it out directly by Se-woon. When the guy turns, he gets caught straight in the back. Those back shots were fire. Se-woon wonders if the guy died, and then is surprised, saying that since there is not a corpse, but just a chest, it looks like they're definitely in a game. That must contain the items he had, but he wonders where the fire came from. We then see the big-nosed dude beside him saying that he can't believe somebody who couldn't even use magic dared to steal his items. He calls him unlucky, saying that if he had just died to a sword, he wouldn't have felt the pain of burning to death. Se-woon says that he luckily didn't see him and just walked past, and that this cloak sure is broken. For some reason, he says that the guy should be honored that he died at the hands of himself, but he uses the name Chiron. Little confused by the names here. But Big Nose goes to check what the guy dropped. Se-woon says that the person who died was a player just like him, and he could be the next person who gets hunted by this guy. In the moment he hesitates, someone will kill him and get a higher rank. If that's the case, and if he truly wants to survive, he knows what he must do. As Big Nose is sorting through the items, we see an attack coming in from behind. He then feels it hitting his barrier, causing him to turn around, and we see his barrier getting cracked. Big Nose wonders if maybe he had made too much noise, saying that it's all that bastard's fault. Se-woon then raises his finger up to the trigger and squeezes it, shooting out another bolt that cracks the barrier once more. Big Nose says that his barrier is going to break into pieces if it goes on like this. We see Se-woon still in his night cloak. Big Nose can't tell where he is, but knows the rough location, so he shoots out a fireball directly towards him. He asks where he's hiding, saying that he should show himself instead of being a coward. This time, a throwing knife comes out from the bushes, going straight towards the side of Big Nose. When he turns after hearing it, his barrier manages to protect him, but now is completely shattered. He looks extremely panicked, but continues asking where he's hiding. Se-woon then raises the crossbow for another shot. Big Nose starts to cast another Escrow's Flame spell, but before he can finish, he gets a throwing knife straight to the forehead, and tears start to run down his eyes. His last words were him trying his best to cast the spell, as his head got deleted by the attack. Se-woon is just surprised that he won, and now there are 2 loot boxes on the ground. He says that if someone sees the fire and follows him, it'll be annoying, so he better loot as fast as possible and leave. He decides to start with Big Nose's chest first, and throws pretty much every single thing he can into the subspace, and even gets another healing item. He then obtains an item called Escrow's Necklace, and that it signifies he's a mage of the Escrow Magic Society. That clears up the name confusion. He says that it's just a trash item with no properties, and that he should just stash it for now. As he keeps looking through the items, one of them catches his eye, and it's called the Circle Stone that enables the user to engrave a circle around their heart that allows them to use mana. Once he uses it, he can learn the magic of that circle. He really wonders if he can become a mage just like this. And now he recalls why the guy who was running away said that if only he had the time to use the item. And Se-woon says that he's sorry, but he'll put it to good use in that guy's stead, and that he should just chuck the rest of it into his inventory and peep it out at a safe spot. He continues further into the forest until he's on top of a hill, saying that he needs to find a place where he can use the Circle Stone. He spots some houses and makes his way over, saying that this looks good. On the inside, it asks if he's sure he would like to use the Circle Stone, and he says of course. It warns him that once he uses it, he will have to remain motionless for 3 hours, and he won't be able to take any other actions or use items during that time, and that he will also feel slight pain as the circle forms. Immediately, his chest begins to ache really bad, and he suppresses the screams that wanted, and spent the next 3 hours in intense pain. We see him drooling on the floor, saying that it was meant to be a slight pain, but he thought he was cooked with that, and that learning a martial art was easy, but magic sure wasn't. He then opens up his status window, and we see that he now has 2 jobs at the same time, and he even has a monostat now. He says that since the 2 of those dudes died, the number of survivors should have gone down too, and he goes to check it, and as it pops up, he asks how this is possible, as it has dropped significantly, and there is now only 45 out of 100, as some person named Nam Sagwang is killing pretty much every single person on the list. Luckily, we get a flashback to a few hours earlier, and we see a man looking down at others from a treetop. He starts to lick his lips, looking at his prey, as the dude stumbles over a rock, which is pretty funny since the dude is so big. He turns, saying that he just wants to get in the top 90, and what I'm assuming is Sagwang raises his hand into the air, as the dude is begging for his life. He then stretches his hand out towards his face, and pops his head like a zit, saying that with this, all of the participants will come to know it. As he doesn't even bother looting the guy, he says that he just wants them to know his name, and of course, he is Sagwang. It is now day 3, and he gets a notification. He can't believe that so many people died in a single night, and he says that he hopes he definitely does not run into Sagwang. He then says that if this keeps up, it might be possible for him to end up in the top 10. Before they started, they announced a reward for people reaching that ranking, and he wonders what it would be. His guess is on money and items, but what if it's being able to use the skills and items he's acquired here back in the real world? He sighs, saying that there is a killer going crazy outside, and here he is getting ahead of himself. He needs to finish up and start moving soon, and he can definitely feel power coming from within him. He wonders if this is what mana is. He says that he also found a magic book while looting yesterday, and it's called the Magic Book of Windball. It creates a sphere using wind. The number of spheres that he can create increases with the user's power. He says that he knew it and asks if he would like to use it. He clicks yes, and the book just vanishes. He asks if that was it, and says that it's making him learn the magic directly in his head. He then starts to say a scroll magic as he uses Windball by sticking his hand out, gathering mana on his palm. We see 4 balls being formed, and he asks if this is really all there is, because they don't look like much. He raises his hand as if he was shaking them away, and they slowly float backwards until they cause a giant explosion behind him after colliding with the wall. He says that it's way stronger than it looks. Which means that it'll definitely come in handy, but he wonders why he's so tired all of a sudden, saying that it must be because he used magic. As the time passed, the restricted area began to appear on his map, and the grid shrunk. He decided to go farming while staying at the edges of the boundary. His chances of running into another player should be decreased since half of them are gone, and he needs to hurry up and farm before the restricted zone shrinks even more. We see somebody watching him from a treetop, as it's an old man who is yet to move, still just watching him walk down the path. He says this sure is interesting and then jumps forward. We get a time skip to half a day later, and he says that he remembered seeing houses around here on the map, and then is surprised to see nothing but loot boxes all on the floor, and blood too. He hears footsteps behind him and then panics. He activates Windball and shoots it directly to where he heard the sound, causing the door to explode. He wonders if it was really just the wind, saying that he thought he felt someone's presence. He is surprised by something as what he sees through the door, as there's blood everywhere. He says they must be injured, and there's probably so much strong stuff in there since they've managed to survive until now, that he might be able to kill them since they're weakened, and surely they must have good items. He decides to prioritize his survival instead, leaving, and we see from the other side of the door after he's gone. The guy asks if he left, saying, "Thank God, and thank God he was quick in hiding or else he would have been killed. Though he would have taken care of him easily if he was not injured, and that he should just loot quickly and leave." He then catches an arrow directly to the side of the head and realizes that he just got baited. As his body starts to disappear, we see that Seowon was watching from afar, thanking him for falling for it. He says that he'll farm quickly and go to the edges of the restricted zone, and then we hear the old man from earlier saying that he seems pretty skilled. Se-woon realizes he let his guard down, and the man says there's no need to be scared, as he just wants to ask him some questions. Bro must have a lot of thoughts. Se-woon asks who he is, and he says that he probably wouldn't even know if he told him, since they all come from living different lives. Se-woon says that he's really different from everyone else he's seen so far, and the old man asks if he's participated in this kind of play before. Se-woon asks what he means by play, and the old man says that he has had his eyes on him for a while, and he adapted pretty fast, and he's sure that he already knows that this isn't real. Se-woon wonders how long he's been watching and how he didn't notice him. He says that it's his first time being brought here, but he's played a similar game in the world he came from. The old man says that's pretty interesting, and Se-woon says that he could tell from his appearance that he's definitely not from the same world. The old man says that it seems to have gotten dark, and Se-woon says yes, and it's already the third day. The old man asks if the moon in his world is as big as this one. Se-woon says he didn't notice how big it was, but tells the old man no, that this shit is huge here, and the old man says same. Then asks him to explain the game he mentioned. Se-woon asks if he's sure about doing it here, since he could be ambushed easily in this place. The old man says that he guesses it could be a long conversation, so they should go somewhere else, and Se-woon asks how he knows he won't kill him. The old man grabs onto him, saying that he's sure he knows it well, but he mustn't make a sound if he doesn't want to become a target, that is, as he starts hopping from tree to tree, carrying Se-woon, effortlessly moving really quickly, so fast that bro's cheeks are flapping in the wind. Se-woon says that he had no idea at this time what kind of consequences their encounter would bring. That night, elsewhere. The old man, after a bit of explaining, says that his world seems very magical. Se-woon says that he doesn't really know how to put it, and it's a place of a highly advanced civilization. The old man says that explains how he was able to adjust to this place so quickly, and Se-woon wonders how long he's been watching him. The old man says that he's actually been with him from the moment they were dropped here. Se-woon wonders if he's now reading his mind. The old man says that he was planning on enjoying the fresh air on the high mountains for the next 100 days, but he's intrigued by what he was doing. He only decided to talk to him because he was curious about why they were brought here, and he doesn't intend to harm him, so he doesn't have to be cautious. Se-woon says he has no idea, and the old man says that he has something similar in his world though. Se-woon says that's also just a type of playing, and it's meant to be played only for fun, and nobody really dies. So when it comes to the motives of those supernatural beings who can abduct people from another world, there's no way for him to know. The old man says that he sees, and Se-woon continues, saying that he's sure the game will be a huge opportunity for someone. The old man asks what he means, and Se-woon says that surely he already knows, but him dying here isn't the same as dying for real. Once he dies, he'll be given a rank and a reward corresponding to it, and he believes the rewards will be the items they obtain here. The old man asks if he means the things he has on his body, and Se-woon says that not only these, but even the skills and martial arts he's learned. Of course, he has nothing to prove it yet. The old man says that magic is surely interesting, asking if this is really an opportunity. Se-woon tells him that he's sure he wouldn't need them, but for the people who are going through lots of struggles in life, these abilities could change them. The old man asks what makes him think that his life is without struggles. Se-woon says that he seems like a martial arts master, so he's sure he has followers back in his world, and it's not even comparable to someone like him, who doesn't even have a real use in his world. That's why he's saying it'll be a huge opportunity for people who are struggling. The old man laughs hella loud, saying that he sure does say some interesting things, and Se-woon tells him to quiet down. The old man then asks what he keeps doing by touching the air, and Se-woon says that he must not know how to turn on the map. He told him about the tips and tricks that might be useful in his world, and he heard stories about his, and morning arrived pretty quickly. The old man lightly taps the ground, saying that it's morning, and he feels like he took too much of his time, as he drops Se-woon to the floor. Se-woon says not at all, as staying with him is probably the best way to stay safe. He tells him that he had fun listening to his stories, and the old man says that since he learned a lot about this playing thing from him, he's wondering if there's something he could do to repay him. Se-woon asks if it would be possible to learn some of his martial arts, as he really wants to survive until the end, and in order to do that, he needs his help. The old man looks at him for a second and says that it is not impossible, which immediately gives Se-woon hope, but the old man warns him that he would have to be prepared for the worst. Se-woon asks what he means, and the old man says that he means death, asking what it will be. The old man says that to succeed outside the traditional means, he'd have to pay a hefty price, asking if he's prepared for that. Se-woon says that he doesn't mean to sound like a broken record, but people don't die here. The old man realizes that he's right and says if that's the case, then using that method could be possible. Se-woon asks if it would make him stronger, and the old man says that it'll be worth trying at least. Se-woon asks what he should do, as the old man says that first, he needs to check how much inner energy he has, and he puts his palm on his head. He's then surprised by his inner energy, saying that it's less than even his dog, asking how the hell he's so weak. Se-woon says he told him there is no such thing as martial arts or inner energy in his world. The old man tells him to assume the lotus position for now, and we see him still palming his head like a basketball. He says that he will feel pain akin to death, yet he won't be able to move. Se-woon asks what he should do. The old man tells him to endure it, because if he fails to do so, he will die. As he starts transferring his ki, Se-woon says that all of his senses are on edge. The wind blowing against his skin feels like sharp blades, and even just breathing feels like they laced his shit with fentanyl. He can even hear the sound of the ants crawling on the grass. He then feels a very sharp pain. As it starts flying up through his dantian, reaching the upper one, he lets out a scream as an energy beam comes out of his mouth and his eyes, and he wonders if this is how he dies, as he starts to sweat nervously. Then, as if everything around him is frozen, we see something being implanted into him from the old man. In reality, he's just sweating really bad, until the old man tells him that it's done. He then immediately holds back his vomit for a second before letting it all out. The old man says that seeing how he endured this tells him that his body is not bad, and he has an innate disposition. Once he fixes the flow of his ki, his body will feel different from before. Se-woon asks what he has to do, and the old man says that he mentioned before that he wants to get strong as quickly as possible. Se-woon says that he does, and the old man replies, saying that he's pushed his soul a bit away and created an inspiratory gate in that space. People are born to absorb the world's ki solely through breathing. However, now he has another gate to help him absorb special energy other than just through breathing. Se-woon asks what's changed, and the old man says that people consist of mind, body, and soul, and those three are held together by life ki. He wants him to guess what happens to that life ki if someone dies. Se-woon says that it must disappear, and the old man says that he's wrong. We get a cool little real-world example of a water droplet on a leaf, and as it starts to fall off of it, the old man explains that it does not disappear, but rather it disperses. When it comes into contact with the ground, the water spreads out. The old man says that the dispersed life ki gets absorbed by nature, continuing the cycle of life. However, there are those who consider that obvious logical cycle a waste, and they even murder to absorb others' life ki. But those who fought on this path are always in an unstable state, and in the end, the harmony of their yin and yang shatters, causing them to lose their martial arts or die. The mind technique he passed on to him allows him to absorb the scattered life ki like them to increase his inner energy. Se-woon asks if he just gave him a guaranteed death, and the old man says that he's a bit different. Since, unlike them who reconstructed their veins to create a gate, he used Se-woon's soul for it. He doesn't have inner energy at all, and it's like a blank sheet. Therefore, he has tweaked his veins, allowing him to absorb the life ki harmoniously, asking if he understands now why he gave him a mind technique that is forbidden in Zhongyuan. Se-woon says it must be because of the game setting, and the old man says that he likes how quickly he catches on. He felt it yesterday, the places where people died had life ki left behind. The biggest issue of this mind technique is that he can greatly succeed only through murder, but here there's no issue. In order to survive, he has to eliminate others, and at the end of 100 days, he will have reached quite a level. The old man says that it's time for them to part ways, and it would be nice to see him again. Se-woon tells him to wait, saying that he's helped him so much, he wants to at least know his name. The old man says that his name is Jang Dakian. Everyone calls him the Deep Valley, standing kindly, and the mind technique he taught him is called the White Martial Physique Arts. Se-woon bows, saying that he'll never forget this. The old man tells him to get used to breathing deeply, and if he continues to accumulate inner energy through his dantian, he'll get stronger slowly. He then opens the map as he taught him, saying that this is very convenient, and that he'll see him again when the opportunity arises. Se-woon says yes, watching as he leaves, soaring through the air. He says that he vanished so fast, as expected of him, and if he could use the same Qui-Gong movement techniques, he'd be able to go around comfortably as well. He decides to make his way back to the outskirts as planned. He got abducted to the center in an instant, but the walk back took him half a day. We see him in some bushes in front of a house with its lights on. He says it's the same thing as last time. Either it's a house with nobody inside, or it's some noob who doesn't know how to turn the lights off, but regardless, he's going in there. As he starts running towards it, he makes his way inside and looks around, checking his corners before slowly clearing out the house. We see the light go off upstairs, and he says that he was right and it's time to farm some items. But after a while, he says that it was bullshit, and that there's only useless things in here, which means he came for nothing. As it was just a small healing scroll and some jerky. He yawns, saying that he didn't sleep at all because he yapped to the elder all night, and it's time to get some sleep as he's so tired. He sleeps peacefully through the night, and the next day is here and we are on day 5. He's still sound asleep on the floor until we hear some footsteps approaching. Then the voice wakes him up, as a man says that the house does not seem empty. Se-woon can tell that the dude is right outside now, and slowly reaches for his crossbow. He can't believe that he was so defenseless, and he waits by the door. As it opens, the man enters, saying that he can finally rest, only to be surprised as he's looking down the crossbow bolt. Se-woon squeezes the trigger, shooting it out towards the man. The man instantly cuts it with his sword, and Se-woon can't believe he's fighting a martial artist, saying that this is annoying. He reaches into a subspace, pulling out throwing knives using the Black Star technique. The man uses his arm to block one of them and calls him a coward for using hidden weapons. Se-woon then gets in close, grabbing the side of his head with his palm, and throws him down onto the floor. He then kicks his weapon away from him, and says that he was having a nice dream until he woke him up. As he raises the crossbow bolt into the air, the man begs him, saying that he'll do anything and give him whatever he needs. He just can't die here, as he struggled so much. But Se-woon stabs him straight into the forehead. It pops up in the kill feed, as we learn the man's name was Orong, and he died to an arrowhead shot. Se-woon says that he refuses to die here either. Right after, Se-woon then notices something as he sees a green aura from the chest. He says that this is the thing that Dakian was talking about. As it starts to wrap around his hand, he says it is none other than life key. He then feels a sudden surge of warmth as his body begins to overflow with strength. He says this must be inner energy. Even though he only absorbed one person's life key, his body feels lighter and much stronger. He opens his status window, and we see that his inner energy now appears as a stat. He wonders if it's level 20 now because of that guy's energy. He says Dakian gave him something amazing, and he shouldn't just rely on getting kills to gather life key, and find other ways too. He wonders how many people are alive now. He looks at the player count, and he is instantly surprised, asking how the hell this is possible, because they are only on day 5, and there are 24 players remaining. He then watches it go down in real time, saying that someone just died. We see it was none other than Sagwang killing somebody named Carl. It jumps to Carl taking his last breath, and he calls out to Sagwang before fading out into a chest. Sagwang says he thought this dude was strong because he approached him on his own, and now his hands are all dirty for no reason. He says he's killed a lot of them already, wondering when this thing is going to end. He opens the player count, seeing that there are 23 players left, and he also spots Se-woon's name, saying that he saw this bastard's name earlier. Se-woon says that Sagwang has the most kills, so he needs to avoid him at all costs. He could barely beat a small fry, and there's a long way to go for him to get to Sagwang's level. He says that he needs to finish farming before the restricted zone gets smaller. From the chest he just got, the only good thing he earned was a refined troll's potion. The rest were trash items. Then again, if he had an elixir or something valuable, he wouldn't have died so easily. After that, he decided to hide and survive until the number of players dropped. It jumps to a whole week later, as we see a werewolf walking through the forest. It turns, growling at him. Before it gets deleted by the crossbow shot, Se-woon says he realized how lucky he was in the early game. He couldn't loot that much because he was mainly hiding, and the gear he did have was trash, but at least he stayed in the forest near the borders, so he hasn't run into many enemies. But he's actually sick of jerky, as we are now on day 12. He makes his way to the edge of the storm and sticks his hand out of it, and it starts to burn, and he says that shit hurts. He thinks he wouldn't even be able to move inside of there, and for a week straight, the kill log only showed Sagwang killing everyone, and it seems like everybody else is hiding and playing it safe. He then notices something, as there's a giant cloud of dust from off in the middle of the zone. He says that it looks like there's a fight over there. Sagwang, panting, asks who the hell they are, and they tell him they've all gathered with the same goal, to take him down, and there's no way for him to win, so to die quietly. Sagwang asks if they really all teamed up just to take down one kid. He guesses he's thankful that they saved him the work of finding them all one by one. Since they're ready to kill him, he's sure that they're also prepared to suffer the same fate, and he'll make them realize its meaning. He grabs one of the dude's heads and squeezes it, popping that dude like a zit, saying that's one down. Painting his own face with blood, as well as that dude's comrades, they ask how he did that, and then he says now he'll take out another one. As we see a dude's head get sent flying, he's not only killed that one guy, but he's cut through a whole group in an instant, killing 3 of them. This isn't even a battle, it was a one-sided massacre, and the kill log illustrated it well. Sagwang is bound to win the game unless something unexpected happens. The player count was continuously plummeting over and over. And Saewoon says that this is insane. 9 kills at once is absurd, and he wonders if he's cheating. Of course it's a joke, but Sagwang says those guys were nothing. But damn, the stench of blood is disgusting. They should die without resisting, and he doesn't know why they have to scream. As he goes to leave, he says that he needs to find a place to wash up, and we see a staff still sticking out of the ground. Someone else approaches it and says that this is Elizabeth's staff, and it's none other than Escrow. Even that, he swears in his name he will avenge Elizabeth. Now there are 11 people left, and he says that if he hangs in there a bit longer, he'll be in the top 10. But after seeing the chaos earlier, if he wants to survive against a raid boss like Sagwang, he needs to get his hands on some really good items. By tomorrow morning, this mansion will probably be outside of the safe zone. He says that it's probably the last spot for a proper farming run. He enters and says that the shit is hella nice. As he looks around, he touches one of the knight statues, and it says he needs 110 strength. He says that he's too short on strength, and it'll just weigh him down. As he only has 30, he says that's really unlucky. He says that there's definitely gonna be more stuff, and something catches his eye. It's an elixir that increases his internal energy, and it takes 3 hours to use, asking if he would like to use it now. Saewoon says that if he uses this, he wonders if he can really get inner energy without absorbing life key, and that this mansion seems like the stash for the good stuff. He then picks up a martial art called the Unstoppable Fist, and he says he can't believe he also found a manual in here. Just like the Circle Stone skill, he'll have to sit somewhere for 3 hours to absorb the elixir. As he takes a step, he notices it sounds different and wonders what it is. When he takes a better look, he sees a cellar, saying that there's probably something inside. But all of a sudden, a giant explosion happens right beside him, blowing the wall open. He takes the chance to ducky and dive out of the hole and wonders what the hell is going on. As he's still running from the fire, he makes it into some bushes, saying that he was sure nobody followed him, wondering what happened. He then says this is the dude he saw in the waiting room, as it's none other than Escrow. Escrow says that for him to survive his explosion, it wasn't all luck that he killed all those people and came out alive. And we see he's talking to none other than Sagwang, who asks what the hell he's talking about. And if he just shuts his mouth up, he'll be nothing. But also, if he has the time to spew bullshit, to just fight instead of wasting his time. Escrow says that he wants to see how long he can keep running that mouth, and Sagwang says that he can say the same to him. Saewoon can't believe that Sagwang, who was on a killing spree, is just a kid. Escrow holds his staff into the air, saying that he is the master of spells, and he commands his own style of lightning. He yells out for it to strike, as it hits straight where Sagwang is standing. Sagwang backsteps it, avoiding the attack, and Escrow says that he wants to see how long he can keep on dodging like this, and he should face him head on, just like he did against Elizabeth. Sagwang dodges another attack, saying that he's not just all talk, and he hasn't seen someone like him even in Zhongyuan, and some of his skills truly send a shiver down his spine. Escrow gets pissed that he's dodging, and prepares a spirit bomb, saying that he's going to end him with this. He throws it down, and it turns out that it separates into multiple lightning attacks that he calls the lightning storm. Sagwang realizes that this is going to be bad, and starts bobbing and weaving in between the attacks, slowly closing the distance between him and Escrow. He then leaps up off the ground, avoiding the final barrage of the lightning storm, and Escrow realizes now what's going on, as Sagwang is flying straight towards him in the air. He rears back his fist, channeling it with ki, and Escrow says this is not going to be enough to break his barrier, and swings his staff forward, cutting Sagwang in half. As Sagwang starts to fall in two, he sees that it was none other than an illusion, and Escrow says that he genuinely didn't expect that. Then, it begins raining, and Saewoon wonders if this is also because of Escrow's magic, saying that's insane. On top of almost killing Sagwang, he can change the weather, and that he is crazy strong. Escrow says that he can't detect Sagwang, and it looks like he has run quite far away, and starts yelling out Sagwang's name, saying that he swears he will catch and kill him. Off in the forest, Sagwang is gassed out, saying that he may have defeated him this time, but he won't let him walk away unharmed the next, and he will be the one to write his death. For now though, he needs to rest and recover. Saewoon says that Escrow 1 looked around for Sagwang, who eventually came down and disappeared, as he was nowhere in sight. Thanks to his cloak, he never saw him, and lived to see another day. Saewoon says that after their battle, neither of them will probably come back to this area for a while. He then says he finally found it, as he is talking about the cellar from earlier, and he wonders if it has something important, or a dungeon that is hiding a treasure within. He opens it up, saying that it looks like it goes pretty far. He says that he wants to go inside for now. It doesn't look like anyone else has been here yet. As he starts making his way down, he says it was a great idea to grab a lantern from the house he was farming yesterday. He hangs it up on the wall, and looks around, seeing tons of food, saying that it turned out to have been a food cellar. There are not even that many places to farm, and he can't believe that it was a complete bust. His stomach starts rumbling, and he says to be fair, he was complaining earlier about how he's just been eating jerky. An hour later, he pigs out, saying that was really good. If he just had some white rice, it would have been perfect. This is great though, wondering if he should start consuming the elixir now. He also says he has the martial arts manual, and we learn that the unstoppable fist was created by a man named Manpeja. He developed this in his later years. With a lifetime of martial arts combat experience, he poured his heart and soul into creating an unbeatable martial art. But with a record of 1,429 matches and 1,429 losses, he lived his life as a laughingstock, and the art was lost due to having no disciples. Saewoon says he actually picked up some hot dog shit, and that is probably better than not learning anything. He decides not to think about it, and he's just going to drink the elixir first. He hesitated a bit because of the pain he experienced activating the circle stone, but he kept thinking about getting stronger and consumed it without further thought. He then instantly feels it, as his dantian is being filled with inner energy. The amount he absorbed earlier can't even be compared. He says that he's suddenly sweating buckets, and his movements have become dull, and he really won't be able to move for 3 hours. 3 hours later, he wonders if it's finally over, knowing that even staying still for 3 hours feels tiring. He was hiding in the forest for an entire week, and to think he survived unnoticed during the clash between those two powerhouses, he's just proud of himself. He decides to get some good night's sleep, and the candle inside of the cellar slowly burns out throughout the night, and we are now on day 13. Back outside, he starts to exit the cellar, saying it was definitely near the storm, and he opens the player count. It is now only 10, and he says that someone must have died during the night, and we see that it was none other than Dakian, who killed himself. Saewoon asks how. He says that he surely didn't try some absurd training method just because there's no risk involved, and if that's not it, then he doesn't know why he would do it. He's happy that he made it to the top 10, but reaching it this way leaves a bad taste in his mouth. The zone starts shrinking in on him, and he says that it's time to move. He can't die from being caught in the restricted zone when he's made it this far, then he needs to get away from it quickly. As he starts running away, he says he wants to continue with the strategy that's kept him alive all this time. For someone like him, who has no skills, that's the best way for him to climb higher. He then feels a hot sensation and turns, seeing a fireball come in, exploding exactly where he is. He barely managed to escape unharmed, wondering where the hell that came from. He then says that he hopes that it's not escrow, and on cue, we see him from where the attack came from. It turns out that thing destroyed the entire ground, and that this is bad. Escrow says that he sent someone through his detection spell, so he thought it was Sagwang, but this is a new face. Saewoon says he got caught up in using his internal energy to move quickly, and ended up running straight into this guy, and he sure is a dumbass. Escrow asks him if he knows where Sagwang is, and tells him that if he doesn't, he'll have to kill him right here, and we see Sagwang's actually watching and laughing. Escrow tells him that he'll only let him live if he tells him Sagwang's location. If he doesn't know, he'll be killed, and he has no other choice, since letting him go will be a nuisance. Saewoon says they literally just met, asking how the hell he's meant to know any of these things. He's then surprised as we see Sagwang coming in for a surprise attack, as Escrow is saying that he just looked like he was from a similar region, and if he doesn't know him, then he'll just have to die. Sagwang then comes into contact with his barrier, and Escrow says that he can't believe he was hiding nearby. Sagwang says that he's already fully recovered, but knows that he probably lacks mana. Saewoon wonders where he came from, as he didn't sense him at all. Sagwang rears back his fist, saying that he's going to finish it with this, and he actually manages to shatter through the barrier, and Escrow asks if a simple attack like that is meant to hurt him. He then gets impaled, and Sagwang asks if he's ever heard of enhanced energy. Arm energy is a martial art under that category, and it's so rare that barely anyone has mastered it, and he never thought he'd have to use it in this world. He's the first one he's shown it to, so he should consider himself honored. He calls him Archmage, and as we see his hand through Escrow's throat, he pulls it out, sending blood everywhere. Sagwang says that he knows now that he'll no longer be chanting those annoying spells, and for someone like him, making it into the top 5 was bound to happen, so they'd have to run into each other at some point, and meeting him will become his greatest regret. Saewoon says that maybe he's lucky that Sagwang came here, and while they are distracted, he's going to get out of here quickly. Sagwang says that he's going to kill him now, and Saewoon is surprised by what he witnesses as Sagwang puts his whole hand through his chest, over and over, giving him the prison shank treatment. As Escrow is about to die, Saewoon says that he watched the supposedly invincible Archmage get utterly destroyed. What came to mind wasn't fear of Sagwang or pity for Escrow, it was just a thought that preceded everything else. He wondered how strong he would become if he absorbed their life key, and he began sweating at the thought. Sagwang asks where his cockiness from yesterday went, asking if he has any last words before he dies, but says that he forgot he couldn't speak. Escrow looks up at him, and Sagwang starts hearing his words in his head, as the person he killed, Elizabeth, was his most beloved apprentice. Sagwang asks how he's talking to him right now, and Escrow says that when she was knocked out of the academy, and not recognized by the Crane sect just because she was a woman, he deeply regretted not stopping her at that time. Sagwang says that he doesn't recall running into a woman, and she must have just looked like a man. Escrow laughs, but it's more of the sound of blood, and he says that now he can finally shut that filthy mouth of his. Sagwang asks what he's talking about, and Saewoon sees as off in the sky, clouds begin to part, as a giant hurtling ball of fire begins to descend from above. Saewoon says this dude summoned a whole meteor. As it starts to fly in towards the two of them, Sagwang asks how the hell he cast the spell when he can't speak, and Escrow tells him that it's the ultimate spell only an Archmage can cast, using their mana and life essence as the price, and it is called Armageddon. Sagwang begins to turn, running away from it, calling him insane, and Saewoon does too, earlier, and Escrow says that it was nice to see Elizabeth back then, and he wishes he could see her once more. As he dies, he turns into a chest, and Armageddon strikes on the ground, erupting in a gigantic explosion that somebody is watching off in the distance, saying that if someone cast that spell, there's only one person it could have been. Saewoon managed to live, but is incredibly wounded. He says that he should have ran out of there instead of waiting, and this is all because he got greedy over life key. He says that he can't die such a meaningless death, and he farmed a ton of healing scrolls just for a time like this, as he starts ripping them apart. He sighs, saying that he barely made it out, and if he hadn't taken that elixir, he would have never been able to escape. And it hurts so much, even after he's healed himself, and one scroll definitely wasn't enough. As he rips up a handful more, he says he can finally breathe a little now. Turns out he burned through all of the scrolls he saved up, saying that he has to get some more. He opens the player count once more, seeing that escrow is finally dead. He says it's a shame that he couldn't absorb his life key, but it can't be helped. He wonders why Sagwang's not showing in the death log, and if he's still alive. On cue, we hear a weak Sagwang asking for help. He says that he definitely heard the sound from over here, and when he peers behind some bushes, he's surprised to see Sagwang turned into a nugget, saying that if he can just get this scroll to activate, he won't die in such a bad situation. Sae-woon says of course it would have been hard to dodge a meteor aimed at him, and if all of his limbs are unusable, he can't use a healing scroll. Sagwang tells him to rip it open for him, and Sae-woon says that he knows he's Sagwang. Sagwang's surprised, then Sae-woon says he always wondered what kind of gear he used to get so strong whenever his name popped up in the kill log. He thought he'd win this game for sure, so it's funny to see him in this state. Sagwang tells him that if he helps him just this once, he'll make him the winner. And if he helps, making a winner out of him is nothing, saying there's no way he can win this game alone by killing him. Sae-woon pulls out a blade, saying that if he can get Sagwang's items and life key, then he'll become the Lu Bu of this game. He raises his blade up, and Sagwang screams, saying no, even if he kills him, he doesn't know how many strong players are out there. He doesn't even have that many items, and his martial arts weren't learned here. Sae-woon says at the very least he should know the name of the person who's killing him, and that his name is none other than Jin Sae-woon. Sagwang says that this time around, he might die like this, but he'll never forget it, and he starts to scream his name before Sae-woon stabs him straight in the head. Sae-woon sighs, asking why the hell he looks like a kid, as it makes him feel guilty about this. But then he opens his eyes, realizing what's to come, as the life key begins flowing out of him at such a rate, it envelops his entire body. He says that Sagwang was practically a human elixir, as an immense surge of inner energy is filling him. The player count then goes down once more, as multiple people are still alive, with there being 8, and they see that Sae-woon has actually managed to kill Sagwang. The elf watching earlier says that now that the tiger is dead, the foxes will run rampant. Sae-woon says with this much energy, he might be able to face anyone. He decides to check out Sagwang's loot, saying that if he had this much inner energy from the start, it must have been someone pretty insane, and there's no way he didn't choose to farm because of that, and it'll ruin his mood if he doesn't find anything good. When he opens it, it's just as he wished for, as he gets a ring called Kaiser's ring that raises his agility greatly, as well as Drimminger's ring, which raises his strength, Galen's ring for stamina, Tokar's ring for magic resistance, and he gets 2 of those. Sae-woon says this bastard only farmed rare items, and to think he was acting like he wasn't overgeared the whole time. He then realizes something, opening his status window, and looks at his stats now, saying that they look insane now, and now he can definitely win. Aside from the rings, there were also a variety of martial arts manuals, but they were all things that he couldn't learn right away, as they require prerequisites. He then senses something, saying to wait a minute, as he thought he felt someone's presence. He hears someone casting a escrow-style fireball and turns, seeing it strike into his back, and the flames start to wrap around him. The guy says that he shouldn't let his guard down just because he's farming. Since he fell over this level of an ambush, it looks like he was just lucky in killing Sagwang. Sae-woon, of course unfazed by the attack, asks who he is, and the dude's just confused why his fire spell didn't do anything. Sae-woon says to him it just felt like it passed by him, as his magic resistance is 90. He then starts walking towards the guy who tells him to stay back, asking what he's planning to do, because if he takes one more step, he'll hit him with a stronger spell. The guy then starts channeling one directly in front of him, and Sae-woon says he doubts this will do anything to him. The guy casts the explosion directly on Sae-woon's chest, as we see it once more start to flow around him. He then tightens his fist and rears it back. Using the unrestrained fist, he actually demonstrates the first technique, which is called the piercing fist, and he hits the dude in the gut, breaking his staff and sending a shockwave through his back. The dude starts to spit up blood, and he gets sent flying backwards into a tree. Sae-woon says they mentioned it was a martial art that always lost, so he didn't have any expectations, but it looks like the strength of the martial art varies based on the amount of inner energy you have. The guy begins coughing up, and turns out he just dies right there in the spot. Now there are 7 left, and this guy's name was Zyhark. Seo-woon says that now that his magic resistance is higher, it looks like the average magic won't leave a scratch. Though it seems since Sagwang is dead, all the guys who were laying low are coming out, and this is gonna be a long night, as he starts to dash very quickly all around the forest. He says that he thinks he's at the level where he can at least imitate Dakian's movement, and says that, thanks to him, he might actually win this. An hour later, he climbs up a tall tree with his cloak on. He hears someone yelling, telling him to stop hiding and come face him. Seo-woon says he can't believe this dude is so loud in the middle of the night, and the dude says that Zyhark was a pretty good mage, and if he isn't a bitch, they should just fight like men. He says that he's just a cowering brat, asking if he's that scared of him, and we learn that his name is Stanko. Something then flies in directly towards Stanko from the woods, and when he looks up, he barely blocks it, as we see that it was an arrow shot out with hella force. Stanko says that it was a girly move to try to ambush him, and they should have a fight like men. Bro is repeating dialogue options. Seo-woon says that was an arrow, asking who it was. And Stanko says that someone who can put this much aura into an arrow, only one person comes to mind, and that it's none other than Zoro-chana. Zoro-chana asks if he knows who he is, and Stanko says that it's obvious, as he is a legendary mercenary called the Divine Archer, and he's well known in the guild. In the end, he's also trying to win this thing, and they should team up and take out the guy in first, who is Seo-woon. Zoro-chana thinks about it and hops down to the ground towards Stanko. Stanko says he made the right choice, introducing himself, and he says he works for the guild. Despite his appearance, he is someone who's quite famous, and that he won't regret this. Zoro-chana says alright. And Stanko says that even though his reputation is very large, it looks like his head is empty. Zoro-chana then starts counting, saying he might have messed up the timing. As Stanko tells him that an archer should make the mistake of closing the distance himself, he looks up, seeing Stanko rearing back his sword, telling him to die and give him his items. As he starts to swing down full force, he gets close, but we see something flying in, and it pierces through his skull straight into the ground, as it turns out that Zoro-chana shot an arrow into the air and this is what he was timing. He says that there's no way he would cooperate with an insect like himself, as even a passing dog would piss on him, and he needs to find out where the bastard Seo-woon is, and he's lost so much time. Seo-woon closes the distance to the treasure chest, saying that in a situation where there are only 6 people left, each person's life key is precious. He then starts to absorb the inner energy, and Zoro-chana turns back towards him, staring directly at where he is, seemingly making eye contact. Seo-woon says that the cloak was meant to hide him from detection magic, and says that maybe he's not just a skilled archer, and he has some skill he doesn't know about. And he let his guard down because he was thinking about the life key, but Zoro-chana just says instead that he was a trashy bastard, so his items are probably shit too, and that it won't even be worth taking as he leaves, and he hasn't actually noticed Seo-woon. Seo-woon falls backwards out of relief, and says that his senses were too good, and that Zoro-chana's a name he will remember, and it looks like he's going to be his next opponent. The zone starts shrinking more and more with every second, and Seo-woon says that he can feel the zone getting smaller faster. With only 6 survivors left, there's still 87 days, and it's probably just adjusting to how many survivors there are remaining. When he exits the forest, he's surprised to see that he's actually in a field. He says that if he fights someone here, he'll immediately catch the attention of anyone nearby. He then hears a weird sound and turns, wondering what it is, seeing multiple attacks flying at him. This surprises him, but he manages to jump out of the way and land away from them. He says that magic was definitely aimed at his exact position. He wonders how they did, but when he looks up, he sees hella attacks swirling in the sky. He says holy shit. As they fly in, he realizes that he can't dodge them all, and he readies himself to fight. He says that it looks like it's come to this, and that he's going to believe in his inner energy. He uses the unstoppable fist, chapter 1 once more, punching forward towards the attack and completely shatters through it, deleting every single projectile flying towards him. He wonders if maybe he's stronger than he thought, and crouches down before shooting up into the air, saying that he has to figure out his enemy's location now. He's then a little caught off guard by how easy he did it, saying that he didn't expect to find him so fast, and the guy asks who the hell he is, as he used all of his mana in that attack, and it's insane that he blocked all of it. Seo-woon's then surprised as he sees the dude get stabbed in the gut. The dude wonders when this happened, as he couldn't sense anything. And the assassin says that he should have left enough mana for magic detection or a barrier, Being an assassin and erasing his traces is his bread and butter, and to rest in piss. The dude then starts to fade out, leaving only 5 survivors left. Se-woon lands down, and the assassin says that he must be Se-woon. He asks if he knows him, and the assassin says of course. He killed the #1 public enemy, Sagwang, so how could he not? And the remaining people must be desperate to hunt him down, and he shouldn't resist and just go quietly. He's never failed to take out a target he's laid his eyes on. He starts running in, and so does Se-woon, as they're about to have a full-on brawl. The assassin tells him he's too slow, and slices, as we see blood flying through the air after their clash. Se-woon's actually got a ton of tiny cuts all up his arm. The assassin says that he thought he'd get sliced through right there, but he's sturdier than he thought. Se-woon says if he didn't cover himself in internal energy, his arm would have been chopped off, and that this bastard is strong. The assassin once more doubles down, saying his death is inevitable, as he's never failed to assassinate someone in the dark. Se-woon says until now he's only fought mages, and then realizes what he said about the dark. The assassin puts his arms to his side, saying he's going to end him now, as he starts to fade out. Leaving not a trace behind, Se-woon says that he vanished. The assassin appears behind him and slices through Se-woon, but it turns out it was nothing but an illusion as well. Se-woon tells him that his stealth skills are quite remarkable. The assassin asks where he is, and Se-woon says it's nothing compared to the cloak of hiding. He then grabs both of his wrists, and Se-woon says at his level, he can follow his movements just by tracking his energy. What a crazy pose. The assassin calls him cowardly for attacking from behind, when that's literally his whole thing. Se-woon says that he was the one trying to kill him, and that's his fault for getting caught. He then starts squeezing the assassin's wrists, causing him to scream out in pain. The assassin asks if he thinks he can beat everybody on his own, and they should team up at least, but Se-woon says how about not. As he pulls his arms down, he kicks upwards, breaking this dude's spine in half. What a brutal death, bro took backshots to a new level. Now 4 people remain. We learn his name was Tamirin. Se-woon absorbed both of their life key and secured the healing scrolls they dropped. He wanted to farm quickly and get out of here because of the commotion they caused, so he doesn't get third-partied. He then picks up a book from Tamirin's belongings, saying this didn't suit him at all. It was the Shadow Clone Manual that creates clones of himself that can fight, and the number of clones depend on internal energy. Se-woon says it's a relief he didn't know how to use internal energy, and if he were able to learn this and use it well, it would have been hard for him to kill him. The other guy had a grimoire named Carmen's Eyes. It's the highest tier detection spell that's supposed to look through any stealth skill, but his circle is too low to learn it. Se-woon said that must be how he saw through his cloak of hiding, and an attack flies in from behind that grazes past him, slicing his cheek. Se-woon looks down at the arrow in the floor, saying that the only archer he knew among the survivors was that dude just now. Now magic starts to fly in at a rapid pace. Se-woon says he's never seen this type before, wondering who it is. Regardless, he can't run, so he's going to focus on his internal energy and use the unstoppable fist once more to get through this. As he swings forward, he punches the magic and shatters through it, sending a shockwave all the way up through the glacier that was formed. Se-woon says that since 2 attacks came in at once, it must be a double team. A man then appears behind him, saying he's quite strong. Holy shit, it's Armstrong from Full Metal Alchemist. Se-woon distances himself, saying that there's actually 3 of them, and it turns out this is the last 4. It is the Cruzen's king, named Shenturk, the Demon King's right arm, who we saw arguing with Escrow, called Chiron, and finally the Divine Archer who we've met before, Zurochana. And then the normal dude, Se-woon, and he wonders what to do now. They tell Se-woon that his luck runs out here. Se-woon says just when he got so close to winning, he ran into teamers. The best way to break apart a team is to create a situation where they betray each other. He needs to figure out what the relationship with each other is, but he's obviously never seen them before. Chiron tells Shenturk that it's good to see him here. Shenturk asks why a black magician is speaking to the king. Chiron laughs, telling him to excuse his manners, but there's something more important than status here, and it's more worth it to team up with each other to obtain better rewards. Se-woon wonders if they weren't teaming intentionally. But of course, Shenturk says they need to take care of Seyawun's annoying presence first, and Chiron says that's as easy as pie for someone like him. As he stretches his hand out, a giant golden aura starts to emanate, and it blinds Seyawun. When he slowly opens his eyes, he sees a miniature sun formed above them. Chiron tells him that now there's nowhere he can hide in, and Shenturk says he's smarter than he gave him credit for. Seyawun says he didn't think there was a method like this, and since the cloak can only hide in the dark, it means he didn't even think about this loophole. Chiron says that he wanted to thank Sagwang, as he got rid of that annoying escrow for him, and he can't say that to him directly, but that's the law of this land. Now it's his turn to die in the name of the Demon King. He then starts to cast a purple tornado with his left hand, calling it the Chaos Blade. Seyawun says in his experience, most mages are weak at close range, therefore if he can close the gap, he might catch himself in it and find it hard to cast. No matter what, he needs to make this close combat. As he charges in, Chiron calls him ignorant, saying that he should just die as he is. The attacks fly out, and Seyawun doesn't even try dodging. He runs straight through them, saying that he needs to wrap his body in as much internal energy as possible to reduce the damage. He has to break through at any cost. He begins getting cut all over, and even his cloak gets ripped to the point that its features cannot be accessed unless repaired. Seyawun says that the internal energy cloaking his body is breaking, and now his cloak is gone too. Chiron says with this attack, he should be ripped to pieces and won't leave even a trace behind. As they keep flying out, Seyawun then starts to use the unstoppable fist once more, and stomps forward, flying out of the Chaos Blade soaked in blood. With his fist ready, he charges in. Bro got painted with his own blood. Chiron calls him arrogant, saying there's no way for him to win and he should give up. As he casts another spell called Chaos Dead Man's Hand, they start to shoot up from the ground straight towards Seyawun. Seyawun says compared to all the mages he fought so far, this dude's on a different level. He puts his hands together, hitting that shadow clone, and they start taking the hits from the hands for him. Chiron says that he thought he only knew how to throw some punches, but he can even use shadow clone magic, and that sure is a surprise. Seyawun says this is his victory. Chiron starts stuttering, saying the word barrier. Shenturk smiles, using an ability called Piercing Aura, stabbing straight through Chiron's chest, hitting Seyawun as well, getting a collat. Chiron turns, saying that someone who was called a king shouldn't act this cowardly. Shenturk tells him there is no honor as great as victory, and he never once said he would collaborate with him, though he does thank him for getting rid of the trash. As a message pops up saying that he has killed Chiron, Shenturk then says that it's just the two of them left now. He tells Zurochana that he was quite the nuisance for their army, and how ironic that he ended up helping him like this. Shenturk and Zurochana laugh, saying that it's too early for him to say that, though, and Shenturk asks what he's talking about. As we see Seyawun still alive, coming in with an attack, and he hits him straight in the face, causing Bro to start spinning. He hits him so hard his armor falls off, and he flies straight into the cliff below Zurochana. Seyawun starts panting, and he says he finally made it to the top too. Zurochana says that he thought he died to Shenturk's sword, but it must have been a shadow clone. Seyawun tells him to stop yapping and fight. Zurochana says that he can't believe everybody is so impatient. From here, it looks like he has more pressing business with Shenturk first. As Shenturk is still alive, he says that they're both pissing him off, and he definitely felt it, and he can't believe he destroyed his armor, which was made by a master smith of his empire, and that sure is impressive. Seyawun says that he's also yapping too much, wondering if it's one at a time, or they going to jump him together? Shenturk says that he's going to regret making him give it his all. As he starts to leave an afterimage, Seyawun says this dude is quick. Shenturk instantly closes the gap, piercing his arm with his rapier. Shenturk says that no one can ever triumph against his speed. Since he was targeting his ligaments, he won't be able to use that arm anymore, and that his technique looked like they needed both hands. Seyawun says that he was thrown off by the fact this guy is not a strength-type character, and he can't lose like this, as he worked so hard to get here, and it's too late to die here. So he's going to trust the energy within him. As he swings down, breaking Shenturk's rapier with his bare hand. Shenturk asks how dare he, and then Seyawun grabs onto the remaining bit in his arm and uses the Blackstar arts, throwing it back towards Shenturk, cutting his cheek. Shenturk asks how dare he injure his face, and then Seo-woon rips a healing scroll, instantly recovering his wounds. Shenturk says that he can't believe he's going to struggle until the end, as he starts to reform his blade with aura. He says that he acknowledges him, since he made him use his aura blade, and Seo-woon says with this he can at least use it too. Seo-woon says now that his arm's healed, he can fight back. As he puts his hands together, he creates a shadow clone and uses all of his internal energy at once, creating an army of himself. Shenturk says that he's really using some annoying tricks, but the winner is always him. Seo-woon says he's gotten serious now, so he should go ahead and brace himself. Zero-chana watches, asking if one of them can die, as they have to get this over with quickly, and he starts yawning, as there are now only officially the 3 of them left. Seo-woon tells him that he's about to start, and Shenturk says that he told him to stop talking, but he's the one that keeps doing it. We learn that his aura blade's maximum duration is 2 minutes, so he has to finish it within this time. Seo-woon's inner energy though is also nearly depleted, so he also needs it be ended quickly, so they're both racing against the clock. They both start to charge in after one another. We see Seo-woon and his clones surround Shenturk. As Shenturk thrusts towards his head, he dodges it. Seo-woon palms him in the back, and Shenturk swings calling him a slippery bastard, cutting the shadow clone in half. Shenturk says he can't feel his hits connecting, so that must have been a clone. If that's the case, he'll cut them all down without caring about finding the real one. As he does this, he gets hit straight in the face. He starts to stagger. He wonders if that was the real one just now, and Seo-woon asks how it feels getting punched by a slippery bastard. Just so he knows, it's better that he stops trying to find the real body, as the clones that he creates can all land attacks, and they're as good as the original, so he won't be able to tell the difference. In unison, 2 of his clones come in for a double attack using the unstoppable fist, which Shenturk backpedals. Now that he's in the air, realizing he needs to go on the offensive, he once more uses his piercing aura and starts swinging forward, rapidly hitting the clones. He instantly kills the 2 of them and lands back on the ground, saying that their durability sucks. Now there are only 5 clones left, and he says that he's got about 1 minute of his aura blade. Zero-chana, watching from above, says that he didn't expect Shenturk to struggle this much, and Shenturk tells him to stop standing there and come help. If he helps him win, he'll reward him with anything he wants when they return. Zero-chana tells him to keep his eye on the opponent, as Seo-woon closes the gap. Once more, Shenturk uses his piercing aura, which Seo-woon sidesteps. He then comes in with the unstoppable fist, using the palm strike this time, hitting his sword as he blocks the attack. His sword begins steaming from the attack, and Seo-woon says that he didn't expect it to get blocked. Shenturk yells, saying that he's got him now. He then pierces straight through, as we see blood flying out. A hole now in Seo-woon's chest. He fades out, as this was also just a clone. Shenturk says this shit is getting ridiculous now, and that this means he's been toying with him the entire time. And this is humiliating. He starts laughing, saying that he doesn't even care about winning anymore, and is just going to tear him to shreds with everything he's got. Zero-chana says here comes the king of madness, and Shenturk tells him to dodge this if he can. As he starts releasing Hella aura, he instantly closes the gap, killing 2 of the clones, piercing towards another. As they all start fading out, he says that there's only 2 left, the real body and a clone. As Seo-woon and his clones start running forward, he uses his piercing fist once more, which gets dodged, while the other Seo-woon hits him straight in the chest, actually piercing through. Seo-woon says that his attack connected this time, and then gets stabbed directly in the head. Shenturk says since there's no sensation in his hand, he must be a clone too, and now only the original remains. As he points his sword towards Seo-woon, Shenturk says he's going to end this with a single strike. Seo-woon as well is on his limits, and they start charging towards each other to end it all. Seo-woon doesn't dodge Shenturk's thrust this time, but instead kicks his hand. Shenturk comments that he's pretty good at hand-to-hand combat, and he wants to see him block this too, as he's using the last of his aura blade to make a lightning form. Shenturk starts to stab Seo-woon in the leg, and it starts sending a shocking sensation throughout his body. Seo-woon grunts, as Shenturk is smiling, thinking that he's won. Seo-woon falls backwards onto the ground, and Shenturk quickly closes the gap. Seo-woon tries telling him to wait, as Zero-chana is the only one benefiting out of this. Shenturk stabs him in the chest, and releases all of the leftover aura he has until it completely fades out. He says that he barely finished within his skill's duration, and had he been slower, he would have lost. He then realizes something is odd, because now that he thinks about it, it didn't feel like a real body. As we see Seo-woon appearing directly behind him, he grabs onto the sides of his head, and pops that shit like a zit, Omni-Man vibes. Seo-woon says if he didn't wear him out with his clones, he would have lost. Now there are 2 survivors left. He has Shenturk's loot and life key to absorb. Zero-chana says he didn't expect him to beat Shenturk, and he should thank him, as he was quite the pain to deal with. In the end, because of that obsessive competitiveness, even a king had to give his all against someone like him. And he used everything up in his battle against him, therefore he's going to die by his hands. For his valiant struggle, he'll grant him the honor he deserves, as he shoots out the arrow and flies through the air. Seo-woon says that that was a crazy amount of life key, and although it can't be compared to what he got to Sagwang, this much will be huge, as he can definitely take down Zero-chana. Seo-woon turns, watching the arrow fly past him, and uses his shadow clone once more, leaping from the bottom of the cliff up to Zero-chana. Zero-chana says that he's using the annoying clone technique again, but laughs as he releases an arrow and flies past the clones, hitting Seo-woon in the leg, causing him to fall backwards. The other clones start to fade out, Seo-woon lands on the floor, and Zero-chana drops down as well, saying that he'll have to make sure he can't escape this time. Seo-woon screams no before Zero-chana shoots another arrow into his hand, and then the other one, and Seo-woon asks how he figured out which one was the real one. Zero-chana laughs, saying that it's nothing crazy, he just made a guess. Seo-woon asks if he's serious, and Zero-chana says he did a good job making it all the way here, and he pays his respects to his tenacity. Seo-woon tells him to give his respect to the dogs. As he hears the arrow get released, he feels it pierce through his skull, as he has now officially died to an arrow to the head. Zero-chana asks if it's over, and time starts to fade out. Seo-woon's body disappears, as there's now a chest, and we see that Cloyd's survival has ended. Seo-woon sighs, saying that he did all the work, and someone else got the prize, but he did end up taking advantage of Sagwang when he was defenseless, and it congratulates him on making it to the top 2, as he has earned the right to participate in the next game. Seo-woon confirms the second game, but it tells him including kill bonuses, he has earned 140 coins. Seo-woon wonders what the coins are for, and summons all the items acquired by him. We see that every item he acquired actually has a value, and he can buy them now. And I think that's a hella cool system. Shadow Clone is worth 130, and he wonders why it's so expensive, as it costs almost all of his coins. It also tells him that the top 5 survivors get a chance to spin a roulette and win a random item. Seo-woon says that of course they love their gacha games, and since he placed second, he gets 2 chances. Seo-woon says this is good. If he gets either the Cloak of Hiding or Shadow Clone, he should save a lot of coins, and this could be a huge win. He watches as it flicks through Shadow Clone, and as it goes to do it again, he readies himself and yells stop. He wonders if he got the timing right, and instead, what he gets is Escrow's necklace. He says that he got one of the cheapest ones, and he eluded so much just to get dog shit, but he still has one more chance, and he starts asking any god out there to help him with this. As it goes through Subspace Ring, he wonders if he messed up again, and we see the Black Star Keepom, and he thinks that it's over before it lands on Shadow Clone, because of course plot armor exists. Seo-woon starts screaming, saying that that's the most expensive one he could buy, and that's practically double the value of the coins he has. Then hands over the items, saying that he can use his coins to purchase additional items. Once that is done, he will be transferred automatically. He says it's time to begin shopping. Thanks to him pulling the Shadow Clone, he was able to save a bunch of coins, but there were still too many tempting offers, that it took him forever to decide. He couldn't stand there agonizing forever, so he made some compromises and wrapped up shopping. The voice compliments him, saying that they wish him luck in the next game. As Seo-woon sees a bright light in front of him, he is then warped into an alley back in Korea, saying that he can't believe he made it back. He looks down at his hands and sees the ring in it, as it's the subspace ring he equipped in the game. As he squeezes it, he puts it on his finger, saying this actually isn't a dream. He then grabs his bag off the floor and says that just like that, his first game has come to an end. On the outside, he may not seem that different, but he could feel a massive change taking place. At least he doesn't have to study now. He looks down at the ring, saying they already told him that there will be a next game, and he has 30 coins left, so he needs to hurry and get there. He barely missed winning this time with a second place finish, but in the next game, he'll get the first place no matter what. Of course, his parents got him that studio apartment near school so he could return to classes. Originally, he was supposed to stay here studying while preparing for his return to school, but now all of his focus is on growing stronger with things he brought back from the game, and he doesn't want to play the next one like a noob. As he starts feeling for inner energy, he says it's empty, wondering if he used it all in the final battle, and since he can't kill anyone here, he'll try cultivating like Dakian taught him to recover as much as possible. Dakian said that it was normal for people to accumulate inner energy through cultivation. Once his energy core is formed, if he focuses on it, he should be able to do it naturally. It may not be as fast as absorbing vitality from killing others, but if he makes cultivation a habit, he might reach mastery before he knows it. Seo-woon asks if that means he could be as strong as him if he trains, and Dakian laughs, saying that since yesterday, he noticed he was quite bold. Dakian says an idiom that means not to overreach, or else you'll suffer for it, but then again, who knows whether it would be overreaching or not, because he might be a diamond in the rough, and he won't know until he tries. 4 hours later, Seo-woon is still cultivating, and says that he can barely gather any. He then opens his eyes, saying screw this, and it's way too different from the game. At this speed, it'll take him years to fill it up. He shouldn't waste his time anymore and just organize the items he brought back. He pulls out some of the martial arts manuals, saying that he wishes he got better ones, and then he wonders if he has to train it little by little just like inner energy. If that's the case, there's no way he's getting strong anytime soon. The manual asks if he would like to learn it, and he's caught off guard, saying that it works the same in reality as well. A bright light flashes in his bedroom, and we see him using his unstoppable fist techniques, practicing them in his room. He says it's weaker than when he was full of inner energy, but it is definitely still the same. He reaches in there, wondering what else he has, and we see a Skro's necklace. He says he forgot about this, and it's said that it's made out of pure gold. He bites it, saying that it definitely feels like it, and it should be worth at least 10 million won. If something like this only cost 1 coin, and he brings back just 10 of these from the next game, he'll make 100 million instantly. Even if it's worthless in the game, it's got a totally different value here. He pulls out the refined troll's blood, saying that this item was supposed to guarantee a healthy life for a whole year for whoever drinks it. They brought this back because the effect sounded tempting, and if he could sell it to some rich terminal patient, it would go for whatever price he wanted. That Cloyd survival will turn out to be a huge opportunity for him. He says come to think of it, all he had to eat in the game was jerky, and he didn't even realize he was hungry while cultivating. So it's about time he ate some real food. He goes to a place called Grandma's Diner, and gets a meal set, which is something he used to consider a luxury. The only thing that he wanted the most while chewing on that jerky was this exact meal. He says it's been so long since he's had plain white rice that jerky almost killed him. Who I assume is the grandma who owns it asks what's with him, as he came in here yesterday too, and if he cries it'll ruin his appetite, as a man shouldn't whine. He says it was just too delicious and thanks her as always. She tells him to cut the nonsense, and scrape the plate clean, and ask for more if it's not enough. Seo-woon says this confirms that time in-game isn't the same as in real life. He then thanks her for the meal. She tells him to stop whining and come again. He wonders when the next one will start, as he needs to gather more inner energy before then, and also the other thing he brought back. He pulls out the ring of strength and puts it on, saying that he wonders if it'll work just like in-game. He immediately feels the sensation, as his entire body feels light. He crouches down before leaping up off the street, over the buildings, and he says that his whole body is overflowing with strength. He then starts to fall back down and lands, saying that he hopes no one saw that. If it gets reported and spread online, it'll become a massive pain in the ass for him. He says if things are implemented this accurately from the game, he wanted to build more inner energy before using it, but it'll be a pain in the ass for him. He pulls out the elixir of incite, the most expensive item he bought in-game. Absorbing this didn't allow him to move for 3 hours, and it felt like his insides were on fire. He starts chugging it, and immediately gets that sensation within him, as his eyes start lighting up brightly. The elixir drops to the floor, and he wastes some of it. And 3 hours later, he's back to normal, but he's not feeling well. We see outside of his room there's smoke. People said that their wall was heating up. They tried knocking on his door, but the handle was too hot to touch. And if it's this hot, they should have called the fire department instead of the police. The old lady says that it was hot, but there wasn't a fire. The police say they should leave it alone, and maybe they turned the boiler too high. She's saying that it's too hot for that. The cop sighs, saying okay, and goes to touch the door handle, then says, "Holy shit, this thing burns." She says that she told him that. He then asks if there's anyone inside, as they received a report, and he needs to open the door, and if he is inside to respond, as they are here to help. The door opens and Se-woon asks who it is. They say they received a report saying there might be a fire. And Se-woon, draining with sweat, says that he's just a bit feverish, and that he turned the boiler up a little bit, and if it was a fire, the fire department should be here instead of the police. The cops say they still need to respond when there's a complaint, asking if he needs an ambulance. Se-woon says it's just a mild cold and he'll be fine after some rest. And they say okay, and they're gonna head out. The cops then tell her not to call for shit like this, as it causes trouble. And she says that she was shocked. Se-woon then heads back inside, saying that he nearly died. The elixir's energy boiled up like fire, and if not for his physique arts, he wouldn't have been able to contain it. Somehow he feels like, unlike in the game, there's a weird risk when using these things in reality. But still, it was worth it. As he raises his hand, he uses his unstoppable fist, specifically the palm strike, sending out a gust of air throughout his entire room, breaking his chair in an instant. He says he needs to sell some of the items he brought back to at least buy a new chair. And the next day, he heads to a gym. Outside, he says to truly polish his unstoppable fist, beyond this point, he needs physical training. So he came here, but it turns out this place is way too crowded during the day, and he has to wait until after sunset. He then spots something, as there's a whole group of high school delinquents. I hope to God he doesn't fight them, that would be awkward. As they're walking through, one of the students is smoking, and an old man tells him this is a no smoking zone, and it's a problem for him to be smoking, since he's so young. The student asks what he's talking about, as even his parents don't mention anything about him smoking. The old man says if his parents didn't do that, they must have failed in raising him. The delinquent asks who the hell he thinks he is, and Se-woon says he's got a bad feeling about this. The guy then raises back his fist to hit the old dude, and gets a boot straight to the face. As his body starts ragdolling backwards, he even hits through a table. No way he just killed a student like that. Se-woon says that no matter how rude he was, he can't just punch an old man like that. Some of the students turn, calling out to another one named Minchik who they came here to meet. Se-woon turns, and the guy says that they definitely haven't met before, asking if he's looking to die. The dude starts towering over him, and Se-woon says this got more complicated than he wanted it to be. We see the student bloody as hell, laying on the ground, and Minchik asks if it was him that did it. Se-woon says that he was the one who caused the problem first, as he showed no respect to the elderly. And he literally tried to attack the old man. And if high school kids smoke in public like that, they should be made aware that they could get into serious trouble. If he's his older brother, then he should educate him properly. And he may have gone overboard, but he didn't have a choice, as he can't have him hit the elder. Se-woon then dodges a surprise attack, because Minchik is furious. Se-woon says he might as well teach him a lesson too, and rears back his fist, hitting him with the piercing fist straight in the stomach, sending bro flying, and he begins spitting up blood. Se-woon says he forgot to control his strength properly. Then Se-woon is surprised as Minchik starts to inspect his butterfly knife, telling him to look at this new skin that he bought. Se-woon says the younger brother is just like the older brother, and they're both out of control. Minchik runs in and swings down, but Se-woon sidesteps. Se-woon says the longer they fight, the more he feels it. Fighting ordinary people like this is way too easy for him. As he sweeps under, kicking Minchik's legs out from underneath him, Se-woon says he has to control his strength. If something goes wrong, he'll seriously kill this kid. He decides to only use 50%, then hits him with a palm strike, but the palm strike starts to ripple off the ground as well, and literally just the air pressure sends the dude flying into a tree. there's no way this guy's walking out of this without internal bleeding. As he smacks straight into it, he falls on the ground, and we see kids recording it on their phones. Seo-woon says this isn't what he meant to do, and he says the acting sure is dramatic, asking if he's an action movie actor or something. He then walks over to the younger brother and kicks him once more, and tells the older brother to respect his elders and quit smoking, and don't walk around with knives, as they are dangerous. He then runs away. As some of the students are calling out to the younger brother, named Dong-jun, but he's unresponsive, making them think he's dead. Seo-woon wonders what the hell he was thinking by showing off on a regular person. If they die, his life is over. Even though he learned it easily thanks to what he brought back from the game, he needs to properly train to control it perfectly. As he heads back home, back in his apartment, it jumps to a whole 1 month later, as he is still circulating his ki by sitting on the floor. He then gets a phone call, and he opens his eyes. He picks up the phone, and his mother asks if he ate. He said he did, and she says that he wasn't answering, so she got worried and called, hoping he's not sick. She then asks how the academy he enrolled in is. Seo-woon says it's manageable, and he can't tell her that he's training in martial arts instead of studying. He then asks how his father is, as he heard that he got a new delivery job. She says that she wanted to call about that, and it turned out he got into a car accident. Seo-woon asks how bad it is and what happened. She says it happened while he was making deliveries, and a car ran a red light and hit him really bad. They weren't trying to cut corners with the insurance, but the surgery costs are steep, and she's worried. She knows she hasn't even been sending much allowance, so she feels bad for asking, but she hopes that maybe he has some of the money left from what she sent. He asks her how much the surgery cost, and she tells him it's around 1 or 2 million. He tells her not to worry, as he thinks he has a solution for this, asking if she's okay. She says she is, and she's sorry to burden him when he's already so busy with studying. He says it's fine, and he'll call her back. His parents spent their lives bouncing from one rented home to another. His dad has always worked harder than anybody he knows, but as he aged, his income shrank. His job was easily replaceable, so he changed workplaces often. Seo-woon starts bawling, saying that he was the classic freeloading child from such a family. A hopeless burden with no future, that's who he used to be, and he hates it. But he refuses to stay like that anymore. He heads into a jewelry store, and asks how much he can get for the escrow necklace. The woman says it looks like exceptional craftsmanship, but it doesn't look like a local item. He says it's been in their family for 5 generations. She says the styling is definitely not done through modern techniques, and he asks how much it's worth. She says it could be worth more than just its gold content, asking if he wants to sell it here. He says his father needs emergency surgery, and he knows it's not something he should be selling like this. But his situation is very urgent. She says that means he probably doesn't have a certificate of authenticity. He then leaves, and she tells him to have a nice day. We see him looking through his finances on his phone, and he says that gold prices have really gone up lately. Even after sending some to his parents, he has enough left to get by for a while. Seeing how excited she was makes him think maybe he undersold it, but it was whatever. He needed to earn some quick money, and he'll have to think about better ways to sell the items he brings back. He says that he needs to tell his mother he sent her his money, so he calls her doing that. She asks where he even got this much from, and if he took out a loan or something, saying that she can't spend this money knowing that. He says that he doesn't even have a proper full-time job, so how would he get a loan? It's just money he saved up from part-time in the army. She says that both she and his father are very sorry. He tells her not to worry, and he'll visit the hospital soon, as she thanks him. On the train back to his apartment, he hears some students asking if this video is fake. They say obviously it's CG or something, and it looks like it was filmed secretly. As we see a kid in the woods casting one of Escrow's spells, Seo-woon instantly realizes what's going on. It made him understand that this was a spell from Cloyd's survival, and he's not the only person in Korea who's experienced that game. The video ends up getting deleted, and they say that this has been happening all day. Seo-woon says at that time, he had no idea what kind of consequences there would be if someone besides him had gotten such an opportunity. At the same time, it jumps to a man having a phone call. The man says they'll cut off internet across the whole country for a little bit if they have to, and that he's really sorry, and they'll take care of it immediately. He hangs up the phone, saying that he heard the guy who uploaded the video is Korean, asking what happened. His underling says that recently the number of survivors has surged dramatically, and it's almost impossible to keep track of them all. The dude grabs onto an ashtray and throws it, hitting him in the head, saying that if the number of survivors is going up, then why isn't the number of agents increasing? And he needs to find and bring that attention-seeking bastard. And while he holds his bleeding head, he says he will. The guy tells them that if he gets blood on his carpet, he'll kill him. The other dude begins healing him using Cloyd's survival magic, and the dude asks if they can even catch them since they're so weak. And if they understand to get moving, there's no carpet in this room. What the hell was bro smoking? Sae-woon says after the summer heat passed, the night breeze became chilly. After the first game, he's been training at night when there are no people for 2 months. He's gathered a good amount of inner energy, and he's become more accustomed to using it as well. The biggest issue he's having at the moment though, as he goes to cast his shadow clone, you see it standing beside him as they both use a part of the unstoppable fist called spatial strike. Sae-woon says that this is the problem he was talking about. He can only summon one shadow clone. The duration isn't that long either. As he and it start running through the woods, they then turn, going straight towards each other, hitting their fists, sending out shock waves. The clone starts to fade out. Sae-woon is gassed, saying that this is his limit. When he was fighting Shenturk, he had no problems controlling 8 shadows as he wanted. Maybe he used too much inner energy in the last battle, and his Dantian now is so pitiful in comparison. He stands back up, saying he can't continue sulking about it. He should just go home and cultivate more. He's a little hungry after training, wondering what he put in his subspace. As he goes to reach, we see a very bright light. It's instantly day, and when he looks around, he is once more back into Cloyd survival. He says that there are some people who look as confused as he did previously, wondering if he finally got into another game after 2 months. The status window thanks him for participating, saying they are going to now begin the tutorial explanation. Sae-woon is confused why there is a tutorial now, as last time it was skipped. He says that this means there are way more beginners this time. He spots somebody sitting atop the statue, saying that those clothes are definitely of a high school student. It seems that someone else from Korea is participating. The kid is looking down at them, and Sae-woon says that he is just trying to own a farm, and it's low-key kind of cringy. He's obviously played these games before, and hopefully he's not a strong bastard like Sagwang. It says that with there being 200 players, the game will now commence. The map is called the Valley of Contras, and the rewards will be distributed starting from rank 20. All 200 people can pass. Sae-woon is a little annoyed, saying that there is no risk of failing, but says that he might as well play this like he's an absolute psycho. After the tutorial explained what he already knew, something was announced that he didn't expect. It turns out this one is a duo game. This caught him off guard, and the tutorial tells him to find someone that he likes and conduct a duo registration. The game will continue until one team is alive, and even if only one player lives till the end, both players on the team will get the reward. If he doesn't create a team in 5 minutes, he will play the game solo. Sae-woon says that he did think that there were more people than last time, and this must be why. Everyone seems to be meeting each other for the first time. So what are they believing in to form teams? If your pick is wrong, your teammate could become dead weight. Sae-woon says that high schooler earlier didn't look like a beginner, so he could be useful, but when he looks at the statue, the kid is no longer there. And Sae-woon wonders if he found a duo already. He says that he should just find anyone he can. He goes to ask somebody, but they are already in a duo. Again once more, and over, just constantly running into this issue. He says there should definitely be someone who hasn't found a duo yet, but he can't find them among all the people at the moment. He says that since it's come to this, he has no choice. Whether he faces a solo or a duo, he'll just kill them all and win. For day 1, and we see the environment is entirely different. He says that there are scattered villages around the valley that look good for farming, and he finds a spot he wants to land. He then starts gliding in, saying that this time he'll land first and wipe out anyone who comes down after him. When he lands on the ground, he instantly looks up, saying that he can see 3 whole teams, and starts running towards one of the buildings. He says after the first game ended, he replayed it over and over in his head. He also did countless mental simulations for the second game. He's been waiting for this day, and he just did as he planned. We see a guy walking in the woods, and he says he doesn't know what's happening as he feels nauseous. Se-woon appears behind him while the dude's wondering where his duo James fell at. Se-woon comes in for a sneak attack, breaking through his barrier with his spatial strike. The guy asks why he's attacking him, and Se-woon says this is one down. He rears back his fist and comes in with a punch called Bone Shatter, hitting the dude in the gut, causing him to start spitting up tons of blood. He falls to the ground, and it tells him that the opponent has only been knocked, and he needs to finish them off with a final strike before their teammate revives them. Se-woon says it's nice that it has this system, and he puts his foot on the back of the kid's skull before sensing something behind him. He turns, watching an attack from James fly in. Se-woon dodges, but James charges forward, bumping him with his shield. Se-woon says this is bad, and this must be his teammate. Se-woon catches himself on the ground and says that is some incredible strength. James asks if he is the one who killed his comrade, and Se-woon can tell that he specializes in close combat. He says due to the nature of unstoppable fists, which relies on bare hands, the most important thing to consider is how to deal with opponents armed with bows, spears, or swords. Because in reality, there is no way to face such weapons, and he has only practiced this technique through image training. Just the thought that he could try it out in-game made him a little excited, and before he knew it, he was smiling. He sits back up, saying this will be fun, and of course, he has a grin on his face. James starts charging in directly towards him, and we see Se-woon readying himself. As he puts all of the pressure on his back foot, he pushes forward, bringing his fist in using a counter going straight towards James' weapon with his bare hand. He then goes to an open palm and lets it gracefully glide past him. As soon as it's far enough through, he then pushes sideways, knocking James' hand far off to the side. James can't believe that he closed the distance and shifted the trajectory of his attack that fast. Se-woon realizes now that this is his chance, as there is an opening on his armor. He comes in with his palm, using spatial strike once more, putting a hole through James' chest. As the blood starts pooling out, Se-woon runs up to James' head, grabbing onto it and knees him in the face, shattering his helmet. James starts to fall backward, stumbling onto the ground. We see James is out of it, as he is now knocked. Se-woon puts his foot on his head and L stomps down, deleting Bro's head, turning it into a mist. He says that he had a lot of life ki, and no matter how much he cultivates, there is nothing like absorbing it in the game. That means there are 4 people left in this area. I'm still confused on if that was that other dude's teammate or not. An attack then flies in from the side, and Se-woon notices last minute and dodges underneath. He wonders where that arrow came from and decides to follow the trajectory. He looks into the city, waiting for the arrow to fly in, and as it gets closer, he says it must be from one of the houses on the side. As it gets close, he narrowly dodges, and it grazes his cheek. He wipes the blood off, asking if they are going to keep coming at him. He then does exactly that, as he is now continuously dodging every single attack, making his way into some cover behind a tree. But he doesn't stop and continues running, saying that if they are this accurate from a distance, at first, he thought it was Zero-chana, but they are not as strong as he is. That leaves him to wonder if they are alone or if their teammate is chasing him. He gets to the back of the houses and leaps over a wall, saying it doesn't matter as long as he can figure out the archer's position. If he catches one, the other is bound to come out as well. If it were like the previous game, he would be hiding in each house while farming. But now that his sights are set on life ki, enemies have become nothing more than fuel for him to absorb. As we see him on the roof, we see 2 arrows fly in, and one of them pierces through his head, putting a hole through it. But then he fades out, and we see it was just a shadow clone. The archer is confused, saying that he thought he definitely hit him. And Se-woon's foot starts to come in from the window, and the guy is still curious on why he vanished and gets kicked in the head. His nose starts to bleed, and Se-woon says he finally caught him. The dude stumbles backward, and Se-woon says that he definitely made contact, wondering would the dude disappear too because he is no longer there. The guy runs past Se-woon, and Se-woon realizes what it is now, as it is the cloak of hiding, and the dude is drawing an attack. Se-woon spots his shadow at the last minute, and as the attack flies in, he barely dodges it, and it goes straight into the door. Seo-woon wonders if he got behind him and escaped, and looks out the window spotting him. Seo-woon says that the dude is instantly changing position, as we see him land on the ground. Seo-woon watches as he turns the corner and says there is no way he will let him leave so easily. He puts his foot on the windowsill and leaps up into the air. As the guy is continuously running, Seo-woon cuts him off, and he says that he doesn't know where he got that cloak, but coming at him in broad daylight wearing it was a huge mistake. The item is something that you can easily reach the top with just by camping, and if he gives it up, he should just die and give it up. We then hear another guy saying that's enough, and he apologizes to his teammate, saying he chased him, but he is quicker than he looks. The dude says that if he is his ally, he should be protecting him at all cost. The elf says that he doesn't see Seo-woon's ally though. The archer says they just need to kill him, and it doesn't matter. Seo-woon says that he should have taken him out when he had the chance, and now he is in a 2v1. And then he smiles, saying that he might be able to take advantage of the numbers. The guy's teammate charges in at him, and Seo-woon turns, realizing he can't focus on just one of them. The archer fires a shot. Seo-woon dodges, as the arrow flies underneath his arm, making the dude's teammate have to block it. Seo-woon then runs, putting his hands together for his shadow clone, and runs into an alley. The archer calls him slippery as he loads up the triple shot, and he fires it. Oh, it's actually called triple shot. I just guessed. They all three lodge into Seo-woon's back, and the dude says that he never misses, and we learn that his name is Alex. But the real Seo-woon's above them, watching. Alex says that this time he definitely got him, as Seo-woon comes in for an attack. Seo-woon lands right behind him, saying that's arrogant. Alex turns, asking how he did that, and Seo-woon pierces straight through his stomach, with his entire hand ripping through him. He says just because their eyes tell him to be somewhere, doesn't mean that he's actually there. Since Alex has been knocked, he needs to finish him quickly. The dude's teammate says that he uses strange magic, and he must be an illusionist. Seo-woon says he's just a returning student, and if he wants to save his ally, he'll have to take him down. The dude says not only will he take him down, he's going to win number one. He starts charging at Seo-woon, and Seo-woon returns running in as well. The guy uses an attack called double strike, and Seo-woon returns with his counter, the same thing he used on James. He says the key to counters, the point where the attack comes from, you close in and aim straight for their shoulder. But as Seo-woon goes in, his hand gets cut, and he says this dude is hella fast. The guy then swaps to a reverse grip, and uses an attack called Bloody Rush, cutting through Seo-woon's side pretty deeply. Seo-woon says that his sword definitely feels different from a spear, and he gets sliced really deep. If he had not surrounded himself with inner energy, his arm and the rest of his body would have been ripped apart. The dude says it's strange, his sword didn't cut as deeply as he predicted, and he must be using some tricks like the illusions from earlier. He's not really sure, but it doesn't matter, as his neck is next. Seo-woon says if he can't finish him off in one hit, then he only has counter. He wonders how exactly he can counter his movements. He says this round doesn't have any penalty for failing, and he closes his eyes, saying if there isn't any risk, he should try something out. Instead of following him with his eyes, he's going to feel his energy and killing intent. And if he can't even overcome this, how could he set his eyes on first place? Since he practiced all methods of using inner energy for 2 whole months, he was not the same when he struggled after learning about inner energy from Dakian. In fact, he was one of the very few who actually had a rare talent for using it. When Seo-woon opens his eyes, we see the guy's blade drop to the ground, as Seo-woon has his head pushed into it and is holding onto his arm. The dude asks how he blocked his ultimate attack so easily. Seo-woon is surprised, but had a feeling like he had broken through a wall. The guy tells him to wait as Seo-woon kills him, and we learn that his name was Carl. And now the player count is 196. Seo-woon said as expected, strong guys have a lot of inner energy, and it seems like this one did a fair amount of farming. He gets a recovery scroll, and asks if he would like to use it. He says of course, and he needs to heal for a bit and slowly start farming. He looks at Alex's cloak, asking why he got worked up and messed up the item. And he needs to find a craftsman with special abilities or a special crawl to repair it. He says if he had this item, his rank would have been a piece of cake, but he might as well hold on to it, wondering what else there is. He gets a bow called the lightning-struck cottonwood bow that allows him to shoot arrows containing faint lightning energy. He says he couldn't feel anything from the arrows that guy was shooting though, and picks up the multi-shot skill book, allowing him to shoot multiple arrows at once. Seo-woon says that dude wasn't even an archer, he just learned it in the game. He decides that there's no harm, and he should try it out since he's learned it. Then he picks up the bow, shooting out a multi-shot. He says this is better than the crossbow he had last time, and he's sure this will be useful. It seems like there's one team left in his area, but he decided to rest and farm before resuming. And maybe it's because they're just village houses, but there's nothing here apart from shitty items. And he wonders how that dude got a cloak of hiding in one of these buildings, saying that he got really lucky. He then spots something, as there is a giant tower in the town center. He says usually those kinds of places are the best farming points, and he heads straight to it. He says seeing how the door is closed, it doesn't seem like someone has already been here, and that he wants to start a proper mukbang. And he decides to close the door. He heads upstairs, saying that he hopes something good comes out, like a cloak of hiding or rings, and he's almost at the top. He then wonders if there's really nothing here at all, and punches the wall out of frustration, saying that sometimes everything goes as planned, and other times it just pisses him off. He then looks down, spotting something, as he sees the last team in the area, and he says they're farming without a care in the world. He wonders if they have anything good, and if they do, it might be hard to face them alone. And he wonders how he can deal with this. He then sees them actually pointing towards his tower, and he says they might be coming here. One of them tells his partner, Kilroy, that the door is already closed, so nobody is here. As Seo-woon is watching from above, they even point out how he missed a healing scroll. Seo-woon says he missed it because there was so much junk around, but it ended up being a useful trap, as he is straight free falling onto them. He says that if they're at the level to get excited about a healing scroll, that means with the items they have, their skills are nothing to worry about. Bro's about to belly flop one of these dudes. It went in a pretty cool direction, but since these are all the available chapters for now, I won't be able to make another part for a while. But man, this was really enjoyable. It's got a pretty unique story, especially in how it blends genres. There's this cool fusion going on with Murim, fantasy, and a battle royale element that honestly sounded lame at first. But it's done in a way that still feels fun and memorable. I even said back in my old personal thoughts that I was surprised by how well it worked, and now, having seen more, I stand by that. The way it leans into the formula, with players turning into chests when they die? Hella satisfying. The pacing's also been pretty solid. Not too fast, not too slow. It gives the story time to breathe without ever dragging. There hasn't been a ton of character development yet, but what we do get centers around Seo-woon. He starts off hesitant to kill, but that shift happens once he realizes it's all just a game. That they'll be sent back to their worlds. But even then, it feels like there's something deeper going on, whether it's greed, survival instinct, or a raw desire to grow stronger. Once he gets that strength ring and feels that hit of power, instant gratification. Same with his first kill and that magic reward. It creates this tight little dopamine loop, and you feel it every time he levels up. Especially after getting the final hit on Sagwang, he becomes an absolute beast. But what I appreciated was the balance. He doesn't keep everything, like the life key, which keeps things from spiraling into power fantasy territory too fast. It was cringe he had to fight kids, but that's just how manhwas are. The concept of him being able to keep skills and items in between runs and bringing them into his world is also really cool. It's like permanent upgrades in a roguelike game. I was also genuinely surprised when we saw a hint that other people are getting pulled into Cloyd survival. That tiny bit of world building with the organization trying to keep it hush-hush was a nice touch. I actually predicted something like that earlier, said that maybe players would start popping up globally, so maybe it'll go into a full Earl PUBG thing. Now let's talk combat. The combat is smooth. Fluid. It's super fun to read. Every spell, every ability feels powerful, and that's so important. His Black Star technique seems a little busted, not gonna lie, but the way the fights are drawn makes it feel earned. It's not just wow there was an explosion covering the entire panel, the way the action flows from panel to panel really elevates the entire sequence. Also his unstoppable fist having the lore of never winning, but turning out to be pretty strong was funny. The poor dude who created it just had no inner energy. The shadow clone skill is also pretty cool, was honestly nostalgic from Naruto. Each and every time he gets life key from killing someone, it feels great. What I really enjoy is how that fluidity carries into the non-combat scenes. Whether he's clearing houses or moving through the environment, it feels kinetic. Animated, even though it's all still frames. That kind of energy elevates the entire experience. So this was in my previous personal thoughts, but I had some predictions, and here's what theft were. So this was in my previous personal thoughts, but I had some predictions that were pretty right, like the mention of players while he was doom scrolling, keeping powers in reality. Some ones I'll make now, will be maybe like the organization may try putting a leash on him, and he'll have to prove that they can't hold him down. But I can't wait to see what he'll get out of this second match. The duo aspect is honestly really interesting. This series slaps hard as hell in my opinion. And yeah, I know, it's got some plot convenience and cliches. He finds the exact item he needs. He meets the right person at the right time. Even the shadow clone gotcha role. But honestly, it doesn't take away from the story. If anything, it adds a fun, game-like feeling to it. Like, yeah, of course it's convenient, but it's still enjoyable. Overall, I'm excited to read the next chapters when they drop. This is a pretty gas series so far. Definitely keeping an eye on where it goes from here. I hope y'all enjoyed it as much as I have too. Lots of times people comment peak. For me, peak is eternally regressing night, but now this might be up there depending on how the next few games go. If you've watched till the end, comment, refrag, to let me know. Subscribe for more videos like this, leave a like or a comment to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.